Warning, this podcast has some swears in it.
I'd rate it PG-13 at most, but let's just be on the safe side and say viewer discretion is advised.
I got really fucked up on the weekend.
All right, please continue.
I smoked way past too good. And I was coughing up a storm, and my dad's laughing. I just got fucking buzzed. Like, I was like sitting in the chair and being like, what the fuck is this? What have I done? It wasn't like anxiety level, but I was like, whoo-wee.
I was just like, oh man, weed got hands.
Me inside my own head. So cold. Did you smoke good? Your Honor, it was not mid. I'll say that much.
Time to raise your blades, heroes.
And checks and vibes.
It's the Heroes Blade Vibe Check.
Yeah, I've been in the lab. I've been sharpening my Buster sword, arranging my materia just right. And now, limit break.
Listen, we got to address the allegations in the room.
Yeah, that you and Benoit are the same person, apparently.
Yeah, we've had on record several people who are like, you know, I just thought Benoit was Cole, but with a different accent. And I'm like,
no.
The fuck? Hello?
Completely different individuals.
Medusa's like, I don't know, all you white boys sound the same on podcasts, to which I say, damn, fair enough.
Fucking shot to the heart.
And then I like how Light was like, well, you see, Cole has the tone of disappointment and Benoit has the tone of a trickster.
This is accurate.
I have no arguments with that. That is exactly that's exactly the difference between us. But yes.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Yes, just remember, people, as you're listening to these episodes, we have a podcast in the podcast called Smoking Mids, and you can tell because there's a different music tie-in. Listen, at this point it is just going to be the Heroes Blade Vibe Check radio show at some point. Like, we're going to reach that level. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, hit 'em with you've now tuned in for another long set of that smooth jazz with HBVC Radio.
I thought about doing that. I thought it would be so cool if you could get like a radio show going, and I didn't know how to do it, or not, like, got no experience in that whatsoever. But, you know, it would be cool to just play royalty-free music that you're not going to have your entire channel shut down by the fucking feds. But, yeah. Ideas for another time, perhaps.
Yeah. Hey, so it's Final Fantasy season?
Really? I thought we were still in Dragonstorm season.
Gamers are probably playing Dragonstorm cards, but the things that are being previewed, hoo boy.
Oh, fuck,
them
yeah.
JRPGs, they got hands.
You know, since we are on the topic, but let's talk about it, but Final Fantasy, like many video games growing up, was always something that was slightly out of my reach or out of my immediate focus. I just never had... What's the best way to describe it? You know, parents were poor, sort of, but yeah, they were poor, and my brother and I didn't really have anything substantial gaming-wise beyond, like, a Game Boy Advance. And sure, you could get Final Fantasy games for your Game Boy Advance, but there weren't... Yeah, dude. They just were not really coming across our desk, you know? So all of my friends were playing, like, Final Fantasy VII, and they were playing Final Fantasy X, and I just, like, had no idea what that was. Check out some YouTube videos, see clips of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, and be like, this is the greatest thing I have ever fucking seen in my life. What is this? And always just kind of look at the screen longingly, just thinking about what I've been missing out on. And then you get your hands on, like, Final Fantasy VII Remake and be like, damn, video games really do be awesome.
Video games are extremely fucking cool, as it turns out. As for me, I think I kind of similar situation as far as like it being just out of reach. Didn't have a copy of the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasies. Despite having a PlayStation, I had a like smallish collection of games, and it was kind of just like static. Didn't get more games for that. We're so we're on like Tekken 3 and Gex Enter the Gecko and G Darius and Jersey Devil. So shout out to everybody whose knees hurt if you recognize those titles. And so after that, I think it was like a GameCube that I got, and then a Game Boy Color, and then a Game Boy Advance. And the Game Boy Advance is where I got into Final Fantasy for surezies. We had some experience with RPGs on other consoles, and like Pokemon, of course. So we were in GameStop and got the Final Fantasy 1 and 2 Dawn of Souls for the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, damn. You know what? Here's the thing, right? You go to the mom and pop used video game store as a kid, and you have your like lawn mowing money or like whatever you did to like get your $20 bill in your hands, and that led me to like playing games like Tales of Fantasia on my Game Boy Advance. But the problem was like I pretty much jumped into like every other JRPG game you can think of that wasn't Final Fantasy until like it was way later after the fact. So I was like missing
Tales
out.
Of Fantasia, got it. Golden Sun, got it. Fucking anything Final Fantasy, nope, missed those.
No, did not like, and I'm pretty sure I probably heard about it, or maybe if I had asked around, I would have gotten like had a copy be loaned to me, or got it from Rogers or Blockbuster or wherever the fuck was around back at the time. But yeah, I missed that train until I was like a teenager and started actually getting consoles and console games and stuff.
Damn. Well, the first two Final Fantasies definitely show their age. When I was that young, I was just not like committed to sitting through that gameplay experience.
You still can't
like
sit through that gameplay experience.
First of all, how dare you? And secondly, true. That said, those games were like a little bit hostile, and so I didn't get like very far in there. But then I think Final Fantasy 3 and 4 for the Nintendo DS got the 3D remakes.
Yeah, know what?
Yeah.
I got Final Fantasy 3, and I probably should have gotten Final Fantasy 4 because I don't know what it was. You get your hands on Bravely Default, and that is a Final Fantasy ass fucking game.
It sure is a Final Fantasy ass game.
But I played through Final Fantasy 3, and I think I grabbed Final Fantasy the 4 Heroes of Light, which is like not like it is and is not a Final Fantasy game, and it did all those games did different things, and I thought class changes and all that other stuff was cool, but whatever Final Fantasy 3 was up to on the 3DS or the DS was like not quite my jam, and I traded that game in at some point.
Understandable. I think that one is a little divisive because it's got the very cool job system, but I think the like leveling in it is weird or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is because I haven't touched it in just so many years. But I did play quite a bit of that one. And then I spent, I think, most of my energy, if I was playing a Final Fantasy, on 4. And we got stuck, I think, like a third or so of the way in. Like, it's a pretty impactful point in the game. Like, we're at the last of the 4 Fiends bosses. And I think, what's her name? Like, Babaricia in the tornado. She, like, it gives us too much trouble, and I've never gotten past that part in the game. But everything else before that is an incredible experience and a wild ride, and I really just like fell in love with the franchise there.
I think my main issue when it comes to trying to go back And when I say go back, because, like, okay, so we're in 2025, and some of these games or these remakes that we're talking about were made in, like, the early mid-aughts, or, like, just after the fact, right? So, like, let's say 2010 was when a lot of these remakes or remasters or whatever were coming out, right? Like, there's retroactive history being done, there's some changes that were probably done, but, like, those were still part of our era, right? But then let's say you do go further back to, like, 8-bit era or 16-bit or whatever, and playing your Final Fantasy games on your SNES or your PS1 or whatever, right? Like, those games are so old to me, and I never had the experience of playing them as a child to, like, have that nostalgia and tolerance for it. So when I go back and try to play some of these things, like, I got Final Fantasy VII on my Switch, and it has its own unique fast forward function. So if you want to do some, like, auto battle stuff or kind of, like, skip through some stuff, like, you can do that, which is great from, like, a modern standpoint. But I am also simultaneously that greedy modern bitch that's like, damn, look at Cloud in fucking 3D in remake. Like, damn, we truly are living Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, you know? Like, we're reaching that point in that graphical fidelity part. That game is still way too fucking big file size, and I'm sure they could cut some corners to get that graphical fidelity down. But, like, you know, we are, like, I do prefer the action-y games where I have input on what I'm doing versus more turn-based stuff that is only just, like, attack, defend, cast spell, use item, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm sure there's more intricacies.
Yeah, there's more intricacies than that, but I think that is an understandable, like, stance to have. That said, if you did like Bravely Default, I think it might be worth at least trying Final Fantasy IV or VI, because the plots of both of those feel very good.
Those two always come up in all the discussions that either discussions or things that I see about people, like, what they're talking about. So give me a second, I'm going to open this can here. Beautiful.
Hell yeah, dude. Happy weed minute.
Oh, true. But I know those are always, like, the highlights for a lot of people, right? Like, if you hear about people talking about Final Fantasy in any capacity, right? It's like Final Fantasy IV, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12, and then, like, everything else that's either before, during, or after that period is, like, heavily contentious because of, like, the change in direction.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, I played through Final Fantasy 15. Like, I played it and I watched my brother play it. And I think, like, I got to play some of the DLC episodes for Final Fantasy 15, right? And, like, that is it's the boy band, the K-pop boy band boys going out on a trip, going camping and cooking instant ramen and fighting gods or whatever, but, like, tonally completely different than whatever Cloud and Avalanche is up to in 7, and whatever the fucking draw system is in Final Fantasy VIII, that some people are like, this is the greatest gameplay ever, and some people are like, I literally entered this fight to draw the most OP spell and then left the fight and then respawned it to draw the same spell. And I'm like, what, beyond my time, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck all of that is about, but I have 7, 8, and 9 on my computer, and I'm gonna push them into the right file size and shape so that I can put them on my PSP.
Hell
and
yeah.
have the rest of those experiences there. I am working on 7 currently, which, like, if you follow me on the internets, you know I've been working on that in the background. I'll post on Bluesky every once in a while with a screenshot of the PSP screen showing where I'm at in the game. We're getting through it.
You were getting your shit rocked outside of a town, like, out of nowhere.
Yeah, right outside the Gold Saucer, you get this cool, like, dune buggy thing so you can drive through the desert. And the enemies out there were, like, wicked strong for the period of, like, time in the game, it felt like. So I did a little bit of grinding, as is the tradition of the RPG gamer of the time, and that solved the issue. We also got better equipment, I think.
Yeah.
So it was like that twofold problem.
Damn, the
once that was
true
solved, we were
RPG
good.
experience of level up and get better equipment.
Yeah, it's literally all it took, and then we were comfortable, and we got to proceed past there through Nibelheim. Had an awkward moment with Cloud's family because I didn't bring either of the girls who knew Zach.
Oh, so Zach's family.
Oh yeah, my bad. Did we say Cloud?
Cloud, it's been so long. Plot hole figured out. Cloud crashes the fuck out. That is, so this is kind of like the really cool thing, despite, it's Final Fantasy, so either you know it or you don't, and if you don't know it, I mean, I guess you didn't really have like a good childhood or whatever, but it is truly like the quote-unquote golden age of JRPGs, where there's sort of like, you're like, wow, there's no game facts, I don't have access to the internet, I don't have 20 plus years of retroactive history to pull from to figure out where do I go, how do I do it, where's all the hidden mysteries and secrets, right? And you get
that's real.
You get to experience some of that where you're like, wow, I had this permutation of characters in this area and this thing happened, right? And that requires sometimes repeat playthroughs or just like luck of the draw or the good old secrets on the elementary school playground where they're like, this happened in my game, and you're like, what the fuck? That did not happen to me. What happened? And that's kind of the beauty of like those old games from like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, I think I am reaping the benefits, I guess, of playing this right now, but I do kind of like envy that experience of the just like you can equip the summon materia in the slots that are joined with other things and use like the added effect so that when you attack the person it casts the summon spell and you can hit them with Knights of the Round and add 8 minutes of cutscene in between every attack.
That let's be honest here, did not know that was a thing, but that sounds sick as fuck.
Yeah, there's all sorts of hacking that you can do with materia and the equipment combinations. I haven't gotten to do much of that yet because I'm still pretty early in the game. The point that I'm at is in the Temple of the Ancients.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to go fight a dragon and then I think have an encounter with Sephiroth probably. He did have like a hologram projector thing that showed up in the temple and was fucking weird. He like looked directly at the camera and was like, you fools, you don't even know my grand master plan. I'm going to join the live stream and all the power and knowledge will be mine.
You're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's like, Sephiroth, are you okay, my dude? No, he is not okay.
No, Sephiroth is going through like a 5+ year long crash out, and
yeah, he is extremely losing his fucking shit. Also, for the people who are going to ask, we went on the Gold Saucer date with Aerith, as is most like. It's probably what's going to happen unless you take special circumstances in situations to ensure that it doesn't.
Yeah, I will have no further commentary on that because that is a debate that will never end.
Yeah.
So let's get through some extra video game stuff before we get into some vibe checks here, because I am nearly done playing my current playthrough with my Will origin.
Oh shit, dude! You're still playing Baldur's Gate 3? Man, I fell off hard.
I'm just built different, as we found out.
Fucking demon turned invisible, and I'm like, okay, I've had enough of this.
No, Quinn, you're supposed to grab his bombs and throw it back at him, and then the raise effect brings.
Thrown any more bombs, so
damn, why didn't you have freaking Volo stab your character's eyeball out?
Because I don't want to have that conversation with him, frankly. So he's just chilling in my camp. I don't want to talk to him.
You know what, Quinn? I feel you miss out on so much for all this the chances you don't take.
I know, but there's just so much game. I'm trying.
I will come
my
back to
dude.
that. I will come back to that later.
Yeah. All right.
But anyway, we're back in Act 3. It is probably so many hours into this file. I have experienced so many new things I did not experience the first time, or at least missed out on when my girlfriend went doing her things versus me doing my things. So, excuse me, we are finding things that we never knew existed. We're trying new strategies that I didn't know were possible. As it turns out, Astarion as a arcane trickster rogue, you can do like a boatload of damage to frozen enemies by using the new booming blade cantrip, because thunder damage is dealt double to frozen or certain types of like targets under certain status conditions. So you just
that
like
makes sense.
You just
Shatter the
explode them.
icicles.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that sounds sweet.
So yeah, still got a lot of things to do, a lot of murders to prevent, investigations, character stuff to do. I think we got to go fight an undead dragon or something.
Bro, what?
Oh, you don't know
What is
about
happening in Baldur's Gate?
You don't know? Okay, don't worry about it. It's fine. You'll never get back there. We'll just watch a YouTube video.
All right, well, I'm gonna post that okay yay emoji then.
Yeah. All right, let's do some vibe checks.
All right. So first things first, just fuck, dude. So here's the thing about these Final Fantasy names is I've only ever seen them read. There's no like canonical out loud pronunciation of a lot of them. So here's my guy Sabine, Master Monk.
Shout out to Lenny for being the champion of this guy.
Yeah, Lenny. Big salutes to you, my guy. So anyway, legendary creature, human noble monk for 4 and a red. He has double strike. He's a 4/3, and he's got blitz for 2 red and discard a card. And you can cast this card from your graveyard using its blitz ability. So basically, as long as you've got cards in hand, you're never paying command tax on this guy. And he's got double strike and 4 powers already, like nothing to fuck around with. But then he comes through with the Hero's Blade. Get got.
Yep. So he checks a lot of check marks for a lot of different reasons. Being able to re-enter with haste and double strike and being a 7/6, fantastic. But it's the fact that because you're doing this mono red Voltron thing, you can do connecting the dots, you can do all like these mono red enchantments and stuff, Tavern Brawler and all that other stuff that'll hopefully trigger for him. Tavern Brawler, okay, maybe not so much, but let's go with like Furious, what's that 3-mana red enchantment?
Oh, Furious Rise.
Furious Rise, like, you know, you will meet the qualifications to trigger on the instep, and then you sacrifice him and get that draw card trigger. So there's mono red continues to have like all the cool little tricks of you being able to quote unquote have your hand full, even if some of that information's exposed.
Yeah, I think that shit is pretty neat.
Go flip a ghost train or something.
It's Suplex, a Phantom Train. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Jeez, sorry I didn't play that Final Fantasy game.
Well, that's the one that I'm telling you to really go focus on. I think Final Fantasy VI is very cool.
Yeah, no, it is. I think I did briefly grab Final Fantasy VI for a Game Boy Advance emulator, and I don't think I got past like the beginning part.
Understandable. All right, what you got for me?
Let's continue with more Final Fantasy cards with Tifa Lockhart, the true love of Cloud. We got
You're gonna start shit.
Oh, I'm here to start shit forever. Just listen, Aerith is dead. Get over it. You know who's real? Tifa. Anyway, 1 and a green for a human monk that's a 1/2 with trample, so that's already a pretty good start. With landfall, all right, already busted. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn. I don't think I need to say anything more than having her come out as a 4/4 with a Hero's Blade, and then you play a land. It's fucking over. Just start fucking stomping people. Scape shift or scape whatever the fucking card is.
No, yeah, that's the one. Sacrifice lands and swap.
Yeah,
them with
just,
lands in your library.
you're playing mono green ramp, it's landfall. Just go fucking knock people the fuck out with FIFA. You'll love it.
Yeah, play a bunch of the power equals card draw cards, play a bunch of lands and fetch lands and extra land drops and future sites and hit like 8 land drops a turn and just do the whole one punch babe thing.
Yep, that's what she's here to do. Knock your block off and look good doing it.
Yep.
What do you got?
Up next we have Go-Go Mysterious Mime. They're a legendary creature wizard for 3 and a red for 2/2. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have Go-Go become a copy of another target creature you control until end of turn, except its name is Go-Go Mysterious Mime. If you do, Go-Go and that creature each get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn and attack this turn if able. I think that this guy is balanced around being 2 power and becoming a 4 power creature later if you can like pair it with something. But if you have the Hero's Blade, then you put that on there, and this guy's the 5 power and is getting +2 for 7. And that's a way bigger jump in power than you were expecting. And if you're having Go-Go be something like, I don't know, Dragonhawk, Fate's Tempest, then you're fucking cooking.
Just fucking melt people's faces off. I was thinking of maybe hoping to grab Go-Go for Narrative Heart of the Storm for that exact same reason.
Oh, yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, Go-Go has a lot of potential. I'm excited to see what people do with it. I think, as for me personally, yeah, absolutely. Windmill Slam and Dragonhawk, that's easy extra attack triggers. Just die.
Yeah. I remember someone recently, it was Laura, who said that having a workaround of legendary creature stuff is really annoying, but I think it's totally fine when red does it compared to blue, because I'm so sick of it. But yeah, in this case, I don't know. I think this is just like a very simple, because it's till the end of turn. Like, it's not a continuous thing. You get to do it during combat. It's done. It's one and done. You're fine. You move on.
Yeah, it's literally just sweet Shadow Clone technology.
Yeah, good. Like this guy. Very cool.
All right, what you got for me?
There was no other card that was going to be worth talking about besides this lady. Lightning Army of One. Holy fuck. John,
oh man, what a card.
we saw the because as usual they share the artwork or like the frame and be like, hey, be here at this event that I can't remember where it was previewed at, MagicCon or PAX or whatever the fuck it was, I don't know.
Yeah, one of those.
So John's like, what do you think she's got? And I'm like, well, she's got to have 3 keywords. Like, I fucking figured that out before the preview happened. And
360 no scoped that, you clever kid.
But we were like, well, what are her keywords going to be? And we first thought, well, like Army of One, like she's going to have like haste and menace and something else. But we didn't know what exactly was like the combination of it. We could have been further of the mark of what the 3 keywords were. So lightning, 1 red, white for a 3/2 human soldier with first strike, trample, and lifelink. With the flavor keyword stagger, whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player or permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage instead. I would like to point out, it doesn't matter what is dealing that damage. It can be you, your opponent's own effects to themselves. Doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked.
I am in love with her again. My experience with Final Fantasy 13 in a nutshell. I was trying to do this bit because Sam from Ristic Studies was asking for voice clips, and I just could not fucking get it down pat, so I'm going to do it here. The year is 2009. Everyone and their grandmother has a copy of Final Fantasy 13. I go over to their house. I try to play the game. I can never get past first a couple of hours, and I never get to play it again for an extended period of time. I start dating a girl She also has it. I try to start playing it. It never really works out. And neither did that relationship. And then finally, a friend of mine, we were over for her like birthday party or whatever. She's like, Cole, can you play and fight this boss? And I'm like, Hun, I haven't played this game, not really. And why do you want me to do it? She's like, but you're good at video games. I'm like okay at video games. I don't know how this system works at all. And proceed to just get stomped. It was like a mid-end game boss fight. And I'm like, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. Anyway, Lightning is fucking cool anyway, regardless. So
she is very cool. Since seeing her Magic the Gathering card, I'm interested in finding out what her games have going on in them. So perhaps someday we'll pick those up.
I have, look, Final Fantasy 13 is for under $20 right now. And I think most, if not all the first 2 games follow that kind of same gameplay pattern. But I think the third of her trilogy of games is a little bit different. But yeah, I gotta grab that pretty soon, as long as I don't get too wrapped up in Expedition 33.
Oh yeah, I hear the kids are calling it Eiffel Fantasy because
I've heard. Speaking of Final Fantasy spin-off shit, apparently this is a Final Fantasy-ass game.
Yeah.
But anyway, get your 3-mana 6/5 with First Strike, Trample, and Lifelink, and just start fucking smacking people in the fucking face for a lot of damage. This is souped up Drana.
Yeah, actually.
It's pretty fucked up.
Drana for the modern age.
Poor Drana. Always the 101st card.
Yeah, she's just got a notification that says an update is available for your commander.
Wait a minute. This isn't even the same color combination. What the fuck?
Can't have shit around here.
All right. What's your last one?
My last one is Setzer, a wandering gambler. He's a legendary creature, human rogue pilot. A 2/2 for 1, a black and a red. And when he enters, you create the Blackjack, a legendary 3/3 colorless vehicle artifact token with flying and crew 2. And whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, flip a coin. Whenever you win a coin flip, create 2 tapped treasure tokens. Well.
Yeah. Thank God they enter tapped, but also for you sicko coin flip players, you got another one, I guess. Like, this is a really interesting meld of vehicles, flipping coins, and treasures. And I think, on the one hand, that's really cool. Like,
it's very Setzer.
Isn't this guy from Final Fantasy?
Yeah, you can see on the bottom of his card that he's from Final Fantasy VI. He's the pilot of the airship that you get, and
he's not a Cid. Airship. He's not a Cid. Okay, I see. Okay, yeah, I guess I better go get that emulator going on. Hopefully, the Nintendo ninjas won't come after me.
Yeah, fingers crossed for you. So yeah, I think that this guy getting the extra power from the blade is pretty useful because then you can crew bigger and bigger vehicles. Your demonic junkers, I don't think that has a pretty high crew cost, but stuff like that. Speaking of, demonic junker would go bananas in this deck with all these tapped treasures.
That fucking that card always freaking surprises me with how good it is. Like, holy shit.
That one's real strong.
Let's just do one last one just before we move on that I didn't add to the list. But Cid, Timeless Artificer. Just one of many 16 versions? 15 versions. With different artworks, because I fucking called that shit. We did get a bunch of fucking Cids, and this was sort of how they went about it. You get a 2 white and a blue for Human Artificer. That's a 4/4. Artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each Artificer you control and each Artificer card in your graveyard. A deck can have any number of cards named Cid, Timeless Artificer. You're playing blue, so you can find ways to change your creature types to hero. or find ways to make all your creatures artifacts for that matter. But also, I don't know. I'm just throwing this in because I just think it's cool that they finally fucking did this. Oh yeah, cycling. Yeah, it has cycling. Go figure.
Yeah. And so you can put the ones that you don't need in your graveyard, and I think he's really cool as a like job select commander.
Mm-hmm. There's I think as much as I kind of hyped it up for myself that this was going to be the Final Fantasy episode, and it's still going to be a Final Fantasy episode. I think there's just too many cards to go over right now, and I think we still have. I think we're still like less than a month away from like official release. And there's still like previews trickling in from everywhere. So maybe we'll come back like next episode and really give more of a deep dive on what else is in the set. But from what I've seen so far, it's like really fucking cool.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we get into comments then.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Well, from episode 19, Can't Have Shit Around here, we've got Jay saying, "Hey, yo," commenting on the comments section. "I also came after the Andy shout out. Have since listened to many. Thanks, babes. Appreciate you coming through."
Also, thank you, Andy, and the Legendary Creature Discord for your time and attention. It's been really cool getting shout outs here and there.
Yeah, appreciate it. Then episode 39 featuring Missy, Jay says, "Love long episodes. Lobster butter."
Yeah. Real gourmet dinner shit. Speaking of Andy, he says here, "Well, this is a great one. Wow." I just before we go on here, Andy is one of those guys that I did not expect to vibe with so well. From not only what I thought was so funny is like me just showing up to the Discord, be like, "Hey, what's up? I know Lenny and Quinn and I do a podcast," and Andy's like, "Go on," and does like the Riker chair mount. Do you ever see that?
Yeah.
And talk about a guy who's kind of always been in our corner since we started this, and I actually talked to him a few times about some topics, and particularly he was the reason why I'm doing the particular soapbox for this episode. So we'll get to see. I'll see what he thinks about this later. But I'm hoping I'm doing a good job with it. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Andy. Thanks a lot.
Then we've got
Wilk. We got Wyvern Milk 870 back again. That's not actually
I'm
the
sorry,
name, but
what?
don't worry about it, Quinn. So it's Will.
Okay, yay.
Will is here back saying, "Great episode as always. Been listening since about the Bloomborough episodes. Finally got around to commenting. Lol. Can't wait to hear about all the takes from Final Fantasy." Oh boy, do we have some fucking takes. Set's cool.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Nothing really standing out as like super duper egregious or offensive to me, at least yet, but we'll see.
Then up next we got Benoit saying, "Welcome to the Robe of Archmagi Vibe Check, the podcast where your hosts Missy and Fitz see if your favorite creature wants to wear the card draw cape." Hey, hang on, that has legs.
Yeah, that is out there, Fitz. If you're at work chopping up wood, listen to this. You know what you need to do. What a cool card that I don't think I have a copy of now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Uncharismatic Bard saying, "Love the episode. Impulse Draw is Red's best mechanic IMO. Faldorn is a queen." Damn, you right, though.
I think you're so right, bestie.
Why would you listen? I mean, look, red, when you're playing red, it's desperate times, so you gotta play all your outs. That's kind of like, speaking of a Final Fantasy card, they just previewed a very similar spell that was back in, Light shared it earlier. Phyrexian All will be one. Blazing Crescendo. We got Haste Magic, which gives +3/+1. The target creature gains haste, and then you exile the target of your library. And you may play it until your next end step, which is like great. I love that. I want that for Captain Ripley Vance, because I'm finding more ways to get your absolute value density cards to get your 2-for-1s.
Yeah.
Punch people in the face for a lot of damage.
All right. So up next, we've got G3 Lexicon. Who's saying connecting the dots mentioned, kind of. And then later at 4121, Lamau, oh no, you got my ass.
For your 20 copies. My God. I say as I got 6 more copies recently.
And then shortly after, the fourth Game Changers, the pilot, is so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what it really does come down to when it comes to all, especially with the discussion of like brackets and stuff, that the player really is such a defining factor of turning a bad situation into a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam here says, can't believe you called me out as I was thinking, but Zimone doesn't have red in his identity. And that's what I'm talking about. We could have all these super sick tamer legendary creatures, but instead Simic just gets stuck with whatever the fuck Simic gets up to. It just doesn't have that extra oomph factor of red. But yeah.
Yeah, it's tough out here. Not everybody can be a red mage.
Yeah. I mean, you could just be one, but you know, it is what it is.
Nick Heffernan is saying connecting the dots would be so good for my full budget unsleeved Bilbo retired burglar. Does Keep Watch count as a mid? My creature heavy meta loves that card just about every game. I think that, that's pretty mid. It's a card that's extremely situational. And if you know that your meta game is the kind of place that like you will eat very well with that card, then absolutely, then you're going to be running it. But I think in the general meta, people look at that and it's very much like a maybe inclusion depending on where they're gaming.
Yeah, and also speaking of sleeveless, let's just take a quick scroll through this deck here. So Bilbo Retired Burglar is 1 blue and a red for a halfling rogue. That's a 1/3. When Bilbo enters or leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you. And whenever Bilbo deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Taking a look at this deck here, it is not Moxfield, so like I'm not getting all the information I want right away. So I'm like, what's the price of the deck? Like the categories are here, you know, like that's all fine and dandy and everything. But like, you know, the mana base doesn't look super duper crazy. You got stuff like Oliphants and Sogman Treachery and your Pinnacle Monk for your ways to get extra lands to your hand. Get to see like Veronica and Captain Howler, which that's pretty fucking sick. That's awesome.
Yeah, this sounds sweet.
I don't know. Not much to say, except for the fact that like seeing a deck unsleeved is like the most pure psychic damage you could be inflicting on anyone.
I think that you are weak and will not survive the winter if you're weird about unsleeved or white border cards.
Yeah. Speaking of white border, Trenton got rid of the white border on a Talrand, and he's like, my new project is getting white border cards and making a unique white border Talrand deck. And I'm like, but like, hold on, wait.
King with the white border Talrand deck. What an absolute triumph of deck building.
And I need to see if I need to find that one second, hold on, wait. I need to find the title of that deck that he called it. God damn it, where is it? Future Cole, edit this out.
Yeah, you got it, boss.
It's okay, little buddy. White border Talrand doesn't exist and can't hurt you. Yeah, the psychic damage is I'm suffering. It is the worst.
What an incredible title. Holy shit.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and taking a look at this list, there's like Chase Balarin and Narset Parter of Veils from the mystery booster
mystery
set.
boosters. Shout out to Wizards for printing white border cards in that. And particularly like choosing salty cards because they are more inclined to make people salty if they're also white border. Like, just that's understanding the assignment.
It was a targeted crime against me specifically. So, my God. All right. So anyway, the connecting the dots bit from Nick was meant to be the really totally pre-planned transition to go to smoking mids, so I will attempt to salvage that by pushing Quinn through the door.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Let's go to the next part of the Here's Wade Vibe Check radio show and go check in with Benoit and Quinn on this episode of Smoking Mids.
Quinn, you smoke good?
Nope.
It's mids time. You know, Quinn, I've been thinking, what if we change this to be a historical podcast?
Historical podcast.
Yeah,
I am adjusting my glasses. Please continue.
I've been really interested in the history of North Africa. We could call ourselves Smoking Pyramids. MTGO noises! Gamers, you are not descending into Avernus. You are, in fact, in the right place. This is Smoking Mids, the show where we smoke mids, specifically of the Magic the Gathering variety, with your hosts, Empress Quinn and myself. Quinn, how you doing?
Hey gamers, what's good? We're hanging in there, living the dream.
I realized something in the last couple recordings, Quinn. We did not give the listeners any homework.
That's fine.
I think
Every once in a while the teacher forgets to give you homework, and you're not going to be the kid who remembers that, right?
I think rather than try and retroactively assign homework for the kids, I'm just going to be indignant that you didn't do it, even though I didn't tell you what it is. So, shame on all of you gamers. We caught you slipping. Definitely not the other way around. Quinn, tell me some mids. I feel like we've done a lot of Dragonstorm recently. There's probably not a ton more Dragonstorm to go in, but like, give me one final Dragonstorm mid.
All right. I got one final Dragonstorm mid for you, and that's going to be our girl Stillness in Motion. The enchantment for 1 and a blue, and at the beginning of your upkeep, mill 3 cards. And then if your library has no cards in it, exile this enchantment and put 5 cards from your graveyard on top of your library in any order. It's just, I really needed another card that said at the beginning of your upkeep, mill 3 cards. I'm so serious. Every time they print one, I'm like, perfect, I'll put that in the deck.
Fair enough. Have you ever got the Doomsday part to trigger?
No, that part isn't real.
I feel like there's like an interesting thing you can do with that part. I haven't thought too hard about it though. I have a much simpler mid, a mid with much less cerebral application. I am deeply excited by Sunset Strike Master. It's a human monk. It's from Tarkir. You tap her to add a mana, specifically a red mana. This is a mono red mana dork.
I love that we're getting those now.
I think it's extremely cool. We're seeing, we're definitely seeing Wizards kind of open up the definition of what it means for certain colors to sort of like do the thing that they're supposed to be good at. And like for a long time, like green is always going to be the king of just like putting extra lands into play. And certainly Sunset Strike Master isn't like the first red creature that's tapped for mana, but it's uncommon. It's costed like not a Llanowar Elves, but it's costed like any of those like sort of 2 mana tap for 1 creatures. It's a 3/1. It's an interesting trade-off that they're sort of asking, like, is it an attacker? Is it a mana dork? And it's got what I am really growing to like about mana creatures or sort of like mana objects. It's got this secondary application that I think really pushes it over into a card that's like super, super relevant for me, because I play formats where like rares aren't allowed, and mythics aren't allowed, and this coming into uncommon, like, it ticks a lot of boxes. For 2 and a red, you can sacrifice it. You have to tap it, so you can't do it the turn it comes out. But you can sacrifice it to deal 6 damage to target creature with flying. Which is, like, it's not an exciting ability, but it is just enough that, like, now in the late game, if you ever find yourself flush with mana, you've, got your treasure generation engine online or whatever, this has now a second focus. And if you remember, the wisdom from last episode, you should find ways. It is good to find ways to insulate yourself against flying damage whenever possible.
100%, because flyers win games. We're always saying this.
Flyers win games. It's... Red is, I think, red is probably a good color at, like, having flyers, but it is still, like, unique and cool and good to have a way to sort of deter flying attacks that still feels like it's not, like, best in show. I assume, because, like, there's definitely...
Yeah, it ain't no main deck plummet, but, like, I'm not too good to run this red mana dork that'll kill a flyer.
Yeah, precisely. I think there is some application and usefulness in the fact that it doesn't require the thing to be attacking. And I know they've given, like, green mana dorks, like, Death Touch, which is, like, a great way to also deter attacks. But, sometimes you want to be a little bit proactive. Maybe there's a Mirum.
And sometimes somebody casts a Dragonhawk and they don't have haste, and you do not want to see that attack trigger.
I don't know if it's just been you. I think it's a combination of you, and then I've also seen Chase, aka Mana Curves. They've run a Dragonhawk deck a couple times, but, like, I think a lot of people's Christmases have been saved recently. People are starting to realize that Dragonhawk is, like, that's a magical card. That is a magic card that they printed.
Certified loud pack.
That is certified loud. Oh, gosh, we do love Dragonhawk, though.
100%. She saved Christmas. We have to.
Exactly. Do you love Christmas? Then you love Dragonhawk. That is... I've been playing that game about learning rhetorical fallacies a lot, which makes me very qualified to say that that's not a rhetorical fallacy. If you love Christmas, you love Dragonhawk.
Much to think about.
I think that brings us to the end of our little romp through Tarkir, though. It's gonna be maybe a minute or two before Final Fantasy comes out, and then the space set comes out after Final Fantasy. So I guess we're kind of left to our own devices for a little bit. What is a non-denominational, non-Tarkir related mid that you've been smoking recently that we haven't talked about since last time?
Yeah, while we're floating on through the void in between sets, we can ride in the Valor's flagship, because that's my pick here. Sometimes, like, you just need a Baneslayer Angel, and this is a Baneslayer Angel that can also drop a bunch of creatures onto the battlefield, and is relatively safe from sorcery speed board wipes. 7/7, flying, first strike, lifelink, like, that's fine, dude. I'll cast that.
I remember when Aether Drift came out, and a bunch of Greasefang players were like, "Oh, y'all are in for it now. I'm gonna put Valor's flagship." And I was like, "If you cut Parhelion to put Valor's flagship in, I will just kiss you." Like, a 7/7 with flying and lifelink is nothing to sneeze at, but it does feel eminently like a card that you're like, oh shit, but you're not like, oh, we are immediately just dead. Okay,
yeah, Parhelion is representing like 14 power spread across 3 bodies, whereas Valor's flagship is a cool 7 on 1 body. So it's like, we're not pushing nearly the amount of damage, but I do have lifelink, I do have first strike and flying. I'm very annoying for your opponents, and that'll hold off the people incoming for at least a little bit.
I do have, shout outs to Parhelion. We all know Parhelion's a really good card. I've been looking at the Mardu Spirit Dragon, Neriv. He's from Tarkir Dragonstorm. I know we said we were just done, but we're in our meandering phase. And Parhelion does a great job in that deck, because those angels come down, and they're now swinging for 8.
Oh, shit. You're so right. That rules.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool cards that like make sense in a narrative deck that make me kind of excited. I'm like strictly at the binder phase where I'm like not looking at anything except sort of the cards within arm's reach. So there's definitely further we can be going with this idea. But I'm really excited to test another card to take us all the way back to where we started, our humble roots in March of the Machine Aftermath.
Yeah.
Quinn, I'm sure you are eminently familiar with the card Arnie Metalbrow.
Yo, I like this guy. He is putting in just a little bit of work for me, being able to like sort of amplify the damage that I'm putting out. I like that.
When a creature you control attacks, or a creature enters the battlefield under your control attacking, you may pay 1 and a red. If you do, you can put a creature card with mana value less than that creature's mana value from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. Now, like, I understand, gamers. We live in difficult financial times, and the idea of free shit is always more appealing than the idea of not free shit. So I get it. I understand why everyone is left Arnie alone at the dance, and he's got no one to dance with except whatever Phyrexian he headbutt to get another spike in his head. My man is sick. My man is sick and needs help. You've got to stop headbutting things with horns, bud.
You really do.
But 1 and a red is not that much. Your commander is oftentimes one of the more expensive creatures in your deck. Narrative in particular, but honestly, I'm thinking like there's probably room for Arnie Middlebrow in more decks than have immediately considered him. Because that affects like chains. It like you kind of want to build it in the same way that you would build a Kodama of the East Tree kind of situation, where it's like you want to have a variety of mana costs so that there's always a relevant thing to do. And with Arnie Metalbrow, some turns you're going to have the opportunity to do that a second time. You know, a third time, probably Magical Christmas Land, but paying 4 mana to get 4 mana to get 2 extra creatures out that are tapped and attacking, especially in a narrative deck where like that turn they come in. But I'm thinking like could be narrative, it could be the Samut from March of the Machine that you draw cards if creatures attacked when they came in that turn. And Arnie himself doesn't need to be the one who attacked. So he can be that card can be immediately relevant the turn that he comes down. That card is triggered whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control attacking. There's a lot of tricky stuff with like how you can time even Arnie to show up when other things happen. He is an interesting problem to solve. I think people are sleeping on it a lot. I think, you know, Big Pig, everybody loves Ilharg,
everybody does love Ilharg.
Can't even hate. Ilharg is the best, but I want to see more Arnie Metalbrows, and I'm attempting to be part of the change that I want to see in the world. I'm building narrative. He's like a thesis creature in this narrative deck that I'm building.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that on my desk when it shows up. I'm assuming you're familiar with the standard deadline for that sort of thing.
Yes. He says with some nervousness. I maybe
on my desk in 2 weeks.
Maybe fucked up and downloaded Baldur's Gate 3 with a bunch of mods again. We've been distracted.
You boys lost in Baldur's Gate.
I fully am lost in Baldur's Gate, which is not what we came here to talk about, but it is truly a crime that we continue to sleep on the Battle for Baldur's Gate Magic set, because, like, absolute bangers, top to bottom.
Oh, dude, I'm thinking about Nautiloid ship every now and again, and that card is expensive now. But it really does just like Graveyard Hate and also Theft Reanimator. It's beautiful.
You know, it's a decidedly mid card that I am also thinking about all the time. I think
What?
we all have these, and I would love to know yours, but I'll give you a second to sort of think about it in your head. There is a particular card that I don't have in any deck right now, but I just bought a couple copies because I was not arguing, but I was having a impassioned conversation with someone on Bluesky, a friend of the show, Mr. Fitzy Fitz, who is, you know, they are very clear and very opinionated about like the things that they like and the things that they don't like. And we were talking about the Magus cycle. We were talking about spell shapers.
Mm-hmm.
Magus of the Jar is maybe one of the most beautiful Magic cards I've ever looked at.
All right. I don't think I've ever seen this one.
It is Memory Jar. So the thing with the Magus cycle is that like all of the Maguses are basically a famous spell of some form. The Spell Shaper cycle are also spells of some form, but like the Maguses are kind of like marquee spells. And Magus of the Jar is the Magus built on Memory Jar. So for 3 blue, which is probably why this card never sees play anymore, or had ever, because it's expensive, but like it's gorgeous. Go Google it. You at home, Google Magus of the Jar, Zoltan Boros and Gabor Sixai. Absolutely snapped on this one. One of the most beautiful Magic cards I've ever seen in my life. 3/3 human wizard, sacrifice it. Each player removes their hand from the game, draw 7 cards. At the end of turn, each player discards the hand that they just drew and returns the exiled cards to their hand. So it is a bit of a funky application. Like, unlike Magus of the Wheel, it's not a trick that gets you just a fresh 7 to look at. It is very much a temporary restock, or it is a temporary form of disruption. Where I think it has application above Magus of the Wheel, which is one that, you know, everybody's familiar with, everybody sees. They print it in a ton of Commander decks. This is not the episode where I, like, pull out the slideshow and talk about how much I love the Magus and Spell Shaper cycle, because I haven't made that like Excel or that PowerPoint yet, but like, you know, it's coming.
I'm pulling up a seat for that when it's ready.
Where I think this has interesting application that Magus the Wheel doesn't is that it's free. Like the activation, once the card has been out and the timing considerations are met as far as creatures are concerned, it's free to do. Which means that there's a lot of potential value in using this as a disruption piece when your opponent has sculpted their hand. You don't get to put it away forever, but you do get the opportunity to also keep whatever it was that you've sculpted. Like, this is a turn where you basically say, like, whatever bullshit that you've spent the last 2 turns or whatever putting in your hand and setting up the way that you want, you don't get to have that this turn. And then at the end of your turn, I get whatever my hand was back. And my strategy is sort of back to normal. So I think it's different. It's similar to Magus of the Wheel in the way that I think it would get passed over if the intent is just, I want to have more cards in my hand always. But as a disruption piece in a game that it's becoming easier and easier to recur these kinds of things. Reanimation is getting like more repeatable. It's getting more compact. It's just getting more broadly useful to all colors. I think that there's an argument to be made to re-examine, and like I said, this will be in the PowerPoint, which is not here yet. But like I need everyone to re-examine the Magus cycle because it's getting easier than ever to bring creatures back. And a lot of the Magus cards are like genuinely useful spells that if they're repeatable or on a stick, or, you know, Arnie is not a great example of it, but in some instances there's lots of cards now that just cheat creatures out. And there's more cards that cheat out creatures than I think cheat out any other kind of permanent. So some of these...
Yeah, that's probably a safe bet.
Having some of these like marquee spells attached to creatures used to be actually kind of like a drawback, is now becoming more of a strength. Like, I price is obviously a big factor, but even if price weren't a factor, I think there are areas that you'd see cards like Magus of the Wheel where you wouldn't see straight up Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, dude, Chainer, Nightmare Adept? Or
Exactly.
Is that the red-black one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The fucking beautiful deck for Magus of the Wheel. You can discard a thing to activate Chainer's ability and give yourself permission to cast a thing from your graveyard, then sacrifice your Magus of the Wheel, do the Wheel of Fortune thing, then cast your Magus from the graveyard, and then it gets haste because it entered from your graveyard, and you can, or because it entered or was cast from your graveyard or whatever. You know the rider that...
Yes.
Yeah. The Chainer gives haste under what conditions. Like, it gets them, so you can wheel again and just really ruin people's hands and decision-making for a little bit. And also stock your graveyard and your game plan. It's fucking incredible.
It is incredible. There are only 20 cards right now printed that have Magus of the as part of their name, but like, it's such a fascinating cycle to me, and I hope in expressing this, one, I've got all of you gamers on the edge of your seat for the inevitable PowerPoint presentation about the Mega Cycle and why you should run them all, but two, Quinn, have I bought you enough time to find a mid that you just think is gorgeous enough that people should play it regardless of its good?
Mid that people should play because it's gorgeous, regardless of whether or not it's good. Gotcha. I did not understand the briefing, but I do think I have an application for that. And it's another... Goodness, Baneslayer Angel, is that you?
Is it just straight up Baneslayer Angel?
It could be Baneslayer Angel, actually. I was thinking of Liesa, Forgotten Archangel, who's a 4/5 with flying and lifelink for 2 white, black. And whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. So she's a little bit of a rude bitch, and she's also putting cards back into your hand if they die, and she's also just a 4/5 with flying and lifelink. I was playing an Abzan +1/+1 counters deck and was like, fuck, I wish I had just like a Baneslayer Angel. And then I looked at Baneslayer Angel, and I looked at Liesa Forgotten Archangel, and I put Liesa Forgotten Archangel in the deck.
And this card that's gorgeous enough that you might run it anyway. Who's the artist that you would like to highlight for Liesa Forgotten Archangel?
That's gotta be Dimitri Burmak. She just looks incredible here. She's very powerful. I love a lady in armor, and she's got these beautiful wings and a mace that will absolutely ruin your life.
Quinn, that was a test.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid you failed.
I failed. You like
failed the test because the
Evan
alt art
Kegel
of
art.
Liesa
Oh, you are an
Forgotten
Evan Kegel
Archangel
stan.
is Evan Kegel. People who may not have followed my long and illustrious shitposting career might not understand that Evan Kegel is an artist I am obsessed with in Magic the Gathering and has hands down done my favorite island art in the entire game. The Evan Kegel Midnight Hunt black and white lithograph. I know y'all are getting in the comments about like, I can't tell the lands apart. I'm like, I need you to look at the Evan Kegel Island and I need you to understand that like, that's art. That's art, baby. They have such an immense control of black and white. I got excited for the black and white Midnight Hunt Crimson Vow mashup set on the strength of Evan and this island, and they also did an alt art version of Liesa Forgotten Archangel, which is also one of the most beautiful cards I've ever seen. This is no disrespect to Dimitri Burmak. Also quite good. Magic artists are good, turns out. I just am normal
we really do
TM.
have some of the best art in like fantasy or sci-fi media.
And such, it makes it, that's Gosh, I didn't realize this was like a little bit of a soapbox for me. That's why
Go off,
I
Dabes.
think it's so important to like play with cards that personally resonate with you over cards that are just like mechanically good, because there are okay, Magic art is beautiful. Magic art is beautiful, blanket statement, period. Some cards, I don't know if it's the ubiquity of seeing them everywhere, or it's just like there's good and then there's transcendently good. I don't think Jessica's Will is one of my favorite arts in Magic.
I agree. I think it's pretty good, but I don't know. If I'm ranking my favorite arts, there's definitely things that are above that one.
It's like maybe, I mean, it's almost certainly not my favorite Izzy art. Like this man has done Peer into the Abyss.
Oh shit, that's the same artist.
That's the same artist. This man did the original Blue Sun Zenith. Like this man did Not of This World. Izzy is an incredible artist. This is not a slight against Izzy at all, but it's just like there are so many cards that just I pick up and I look at them and I just keep looking at them and I go like, I don't even know what I want to do with this card. I just know that I'm going to use it because it's so beautiful to look at. Like, I'm always perpetually upset to learn that Scourge of the Throne is like a 50-cent card now, because that is one of the most beautiful dragons I've seen in my life. Also, it's an extra combat. Extra combats are just good.
They are just good. I fucking mark out every time we get an Innistrad dragon based on the art alone. I love their like spindly, like pointy look and their stained glass wings. They're so beautiful to me. I think Mirror Wing Dragon is one that I'm like thinking of off the top of my head, but there's also the one that gives fire breathing for the whole team. I've forgotten what her name is, but she's, I think, the cheapest instance of team fire breathing in the game. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Not to belabor my Magus point, but reserved list card that is like $300 that has a 25-cent version, Magus of the Will, is also like one of the coolest looking wizards in the game.
Oh, is he like doing the thing?
He's doing the Yawgmoth's Will pose, but he's like a guy and there's like a wall of hands that's like coming up behind him. The original
this
Ron
art is
Spencer,
metal as fuck, and it's got the Yawgmoth mask on. That's so sick.
Yeah. The Vincent Prost did Magus of the Will. This is one of those cards that's like the original Mega Cycle was in Time Spiral, which I have like a strong sort of like personal connection to based on sort of when I was playing Magic as a young man. But Magus of the Will was introduced in Commander 2016. Ron Spencer defined a lot of Magic art in the 90s. This is not a knock on Ron Spencer. Nobody's playing Yawgmoth's Will. It's like $200. Like, but I remember when Gaia's Will came out, and everyone was like, "You're taking this extremely powerful card in black, and you're giving it to green." And people do be like complaining.
Yep.
I do like to be complaining, rather. There was a period in those complaints where we acknowledged, we were like, wow, Yawgmoth's Will is an extremely powerful card. And it's extremely wild that green, suspend 4 on Yawgmoth's Will, it turns out, gamers, is a real big drawback. Like, that cannot be overstated. But it just feels like we kind of like memory hold how good Yawg's Will is. A combination of like Underworld Breach came out, and also Yawg's Will is just like financially like not accessible to most people, which is a completely fair reason to not play it. Magus of the Will's right there. You can have one of the most powerful spells in the game at your fingertips for a quarter.
We also just got that effect on one of the rooms from Duskborn. I forget which exactly it is, but it's a green room and you unlock the like 5 mana side and you get Yogg's Will for a turn. And the other side I think is Crucible of Worlds, which is just like, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah. I think Yogg's Will is an interesting testament to like the changing shape of greed in Magic as a game. Like there's a whole thesis in there probably where it's like it used to be the idea of just getting that spell again. Like here's a good spell and just getting it again was like enough to be like, wow, that's maybe too strong. Oh my god, you know what would be cracked? I know I just said Yogg's Will is not freaking accessible to people.
No, continue.
But, the new Tygam,
Yeah.
Master Opportunist, has the flurry trigger that puts the original spell away and lets you cast a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways. I'm just like, damn. All right. There are ways to get multiple Yogg Will. There's ways to get multiple Underworld Breach. Like a decidedly not different idea is brewing. All of which is stemming from just the idea of, I don't know, gamers, look at the pretty art. Look at the pretty.
I want to talk about Inspired Ultimatum. I really like this card. When it first came out, the like caption or the name that we had on Scryfall before we had the official translation was Part of Your World, which is the reference to like the Little Mermaid in that scene where she sings that song, and it's the similar like splashing of water against the rocks. Only in this case there's this mage and they have like a bunch of like lava that they're like doing I don't know, like lavamancy or whatever with, and it feels really just like you know the Magic the Gathering card Commune with Lava? Like, they're doing that. And then the effect of Inspired Ultimatum is target player gains 5 life. Inspired Ultimatum deals 5 damage to new target, then you draw 5 cards. I have cast this a couple of times now, and every time I've cast it, I felt like I was like gasping before, and then I just took a deep inhale, and now I'm good. I'm ready to go. And hey, gamers, your opponents, they do not want you feeling like that.
This recently got a special guest treatment too. Dominic Mayer, one of the best to do it in the game right now.
100%.
Did Dominic Mayer do the full special guest cycle or just the Inspired Ultimatum?
I think he did get the full cycle. Because he did this one, and I know he did the Marty one, Ruinous Ultimatum.
Yeah. No, looking at it now, Dominic Mayer got to do all of the Ikoria ultimatums with motifs of the new Spirit Dragons for Ruinous, Inspired, Genesis, Emergent, Eerie Ultimatum. These cards are gorgeous.
I absolutely adore his work on these. Shiko looks fucking incredible with the like wispy blue and white like robe like wings and these clawed arms reaching out. Like, man, you look very powerful and in charge of the Jeskai way, like just the way that you are in the lore. And Dominic really captured that.
I like how meditative Genesis Ultimatum feels, how authoritative Immersion Ultimatum feels, but there is a intense momentum and energy and like brutality to Ruinous Ultimatum that feels so deeply appropriate for the card that I am less mad to see it cast. Ruinous Ultimatum is like a real shortcut way to like fart in my cereal. Boy howdy, does the text destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control is like, but I'm one of your opponents and I control non-land permanents. I would prefer you didn't.
Yeah, Ruinous Ultimatum landing is really just like you take a big hit to the psychic damage meter, and sometimes that just pushes it over the edge and you're like, all right, well, I've taken enough psychic damage to KO me from this game.
Yeah. That said, gorgeous. Incredible cycle. Big fan of the special guest. Dominic Mayer, you did great. Thank you so much.
Fucking snapped. Keep up the excellent work.
Quinn, it feels pretty decidedly like the wisdom for this episode is play cards you like looking at.
Yeah, if you're not like pumped to draw a card and fucking pog at the art, like, oh dude, Boommobile. This is like a good card, but also the art. Every time I see it, this goblet, it's the showcase one, BT dubs. The showcase Boommobile. Every time I draw that card, I'm just like, dude, hell yes, this hot rod is so sick.
I get so much freaking dopamine playing an Evan Kegel Island. It's the only reason I play a mono blue deck. Like, of the mono colors, it's not actually one of my favorites, but just like,
gotta look at those islands.
I get 33 foil Evan Kegel Islands to look at, and
oh, dude, like, they're foil. Oh,
I am so normal TM and well-adjusted TM about the Evan Kegel Island. I think I have all foil Evan Kegel Islands, and obviously it's most impressive in the mono blue deck, but I think I've got like 4 decks that are blue inclusive, where all of the islands are foil Evan Kegel Islands.
Stunt on them. Wow.
Do you think there's any other wisdom that we could extract from this episode?
Honestly, I think that is the strongest one to leave it on. Just fucking play cards that you adore looking at, gamers. That's the whole part of the whole reason we're here.
The game is so good looking.
100%.
Don't be bored drawing those cards. Play cards that you like the look of, and you'll never work a day in your life. That's what a wise person once said. Except we all gotta work. That's the only way to buy cards, it turns out.
That is what they are telling me, yeah.
Alright, gamers. We'll see you next time.
Later, gamers.
Damn, there's a lot of smoke going on in there, Quinn.
Yeah, there's a lot of moods to smoke, my dude.
Yeah. All right, let's get into content, because I'm not trying to race us to the end of this, but there is a lot to go through today.
Yeah, we've got just a lot of cool Magic the Gathering cards. All right, so as for me, I've been soaking my brain in a delicious broth of YouTubers reading Final Fantasy cards to me. Just watching all of the spoiler coverage, despite having seen all of it already firsthand on stream. Watching the MTG Goldfish videos, watching Strictly Better MTG's videos, watching Power Dragons videos, watching LRR's videos, watching Malltown's videos, watching the Command Zone's videos. I'm fully just like sticking a straw into the Final Fantasy preview content and slurping up greedily.
Due to my very extended play period of Baldur's Gate 3, I haven't dug too deeply into the content part, except for a handful of things that have been going on. So Kristen sent you and I a snip of her PowerPoint her Excel spreadsheet of the math on Lightning Army of One, if Lightning is your commander. And again, I really do want to emphasize that second line of text of if a source would be dealing damage to an opponent after you deal damage with her, it deals double that damage. Shit gets so fucked, even if you're just the one doing the damage. And I thought it was funny that she shows us the list, and I'm skimming through it, and I'm like, yo, where's that Molten Psyche? And she's like, damn, you fucking right, though. And, yeah, especially when you give her Double Strike and all this other stuff. She's got so much on her card.
Yeah, I think
like,
you're going to
is
see this one.
Peak Boros shit. And, and I also, like, some of my most fun and beloved cards, like Ton from the Ramparts and Aloran Searing Lights. It's so great. This entire article is just for me.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta print out something that's just for one specific person in your audience, and sometimes it's you, Cole.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Boros players are winning. And obviously, like, if you build Lightning as a commander, I mean, you either love and drink from the chalice that is Boros, or I don't know, you like doubling damage if you're like a sicko red mage, right?
You're that nerd with their mouth full of clovers. Is like the clovers are labeled Boros attack decks.
I'm definitely going to be trying to get a copy of her for Audric, just because
of course, she's got so many keywords.
She fits it like a
and
glove.
She just fucking kills people. It's perfect.
Yeah, and as long as she's not in the 90, like as long as she's part of the 99, that she's not as abusable as having her in the command zone. But I have so many cards in that deck that would love to have her around, and I'll go over that later because it's Bloodrick posting time. But yeah, so go check out and skim Kristen's articles. Like, if you want to know, I always love hearing what her thoughts are when it comes to like aggro and burn in Commander, because she is just like right in that color pie. Like she is in that Boros Mardu color pie. Kindred spirits here.
Yeah. All right, tell me about the Legendary Creature podcast and what they got up to on the Therapy Session for Listeners, Universes Beyond and Breaking Brewing Decorum episode.
So what happens when you actually get paid for your content? You make content about the people that pay your bills for your podcast. So obvious, one of the things that Andy and Kyle do is they get to do therapy sessions every once in a while to talk about their grievances or things that they kind of need to like establish for themselves and use as a discussion point. And this particular one were about people's disappointment about Universes Beyond in Magic, and also when it comes to like what people do at the deck building stage in like a pod in their meta or whatever, and like how people can sometimes like, the one thing that really like killed me or was when they were talking about like the person's like they said not to play board wipes, so I wink didn't play board wipes, and they're like, wait, but you just described like you just were just playing a board wipe. So, the spirit of the letter, but, that kind of stuff. When it comes to those episodes, and it was their second take, as they established at the beginning. I didn't really catch that the first time that I listened to it, but Annie and Kyle really do show a degree of commitment to the craft when it comes to these therapy sessions, because it's all encompassing about people's feelings and their thoughts, and also how you can apply like logic to these like scenarios that they talk about. I think it's just a really good listen. I think I listened to that like 4 times over just to like really get the nitty gritty of everything.
Damn, son, that really grew. Like, I really took hold with you. There we go. That's the right words.
Yeah. So go listen to that. And then I don't know. There's something about playing more removal or whatever.
Something about what? No.
Yeah. So Rebel Lily continues the trend of, on the one hand, she can make super goofy videos, and then she also gives you the reasons why you should consider playing more removal in your commander decks. Quinn, you were hitting that bong, right?
I'm literally loading this bowl right now.
Short, simple 13-minute listen or watch, and it gets to the point of like, sometimes you should not always be counting on your opponents, and also playing, the removal that works with your deck and not just the typical stapley stuff. I will go on record going that I have tried to put more synergistic pieces into my decks to make sure that I'm not always caught with my pants down, which is I am wont to do.
Yeah, babes, if you're in Mardu, rip that Crackling Doom. It'll feel so good.
Rip that Crackling Dune or that font of Mythos of Snapdax. That's always my favorite to cast.
I think that one is more than I'm prepared to lose myself, which is why my favorite Mardu board wipe is Ruinous Ultimatum. Fuck everyone but me.
I'm gonna cast a 7-mana symmetrical asymmetrical board wipe. But what if I counter it though? Well, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, if you counter it, then that's on me for not having the talking stick equipped.
Yeah, I always love catching you slipping with that.
That's why I fucking play so many different copies of them.
Yeah, I know. You're a real fiend for that shit. And then finally, Flavor Profiles podcast is back with Matt and Matt.
I listened to that episode. Love to hear from Flavor Profiles always.
They, I was like, damn, they have not been around in a while. And as it turns out, when both the hosts are moving and having all these like life changes and stuff,
fucking gets in the way of making podcasts.
Yeah, so good shit to hear the back in the recording booth and getting used to the swing of things and still dealing with an uppity dog in the background.
Yeah.
But that's the puppy life. That's the puppy life.
100%. That's what you sign up for.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brew's off the shelf. Let's talk about games and decks and whatever else we got going on here.
Yeah, so I have a couple of options here, and I'm gonna let you do a sort of choose your own adventure.
Cool. All right. Let me take a look. Wait a minute. Why is that? Okay. So let's do. Here are my votes. Let's do Grixis Mean Girls.
All right.
Let's do Clive.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is more interesting to me because I know what the end result is. I want Cecil Dark Knight.
All right. Okay, so let's start with Grixis Mean Girls then.
Mm-hmm.
I have been playing a Corrosis Chandra's deck as sort of a like flavor experience of what if it was what if Chandra got access to blue and black mana through the mentorship of an evil dragon.
That's not Nicol Bolas.
Exactly, not that
fuck
one.
That guy.
However, we do have a Bolas in the deck now. Because we've been playing that a lot in a lot of different circles and finding that the deck just isn't very consistent. And Crosis, while cool, was ultimately a card with no text on it. And you can't play cards with no text on them without a very specific metagame in 2025. And I wanted to play this in a wider variety of metagames. So I think the right decision was to swap the commander for something more impactful. Enter this fucking clown. Kefka Court Mage. Man, the evil wizard.
Final Fantasy VI.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look at this guy. He is a human wizard, legendary creature, for 2, a blue, a black, and a red. And 4 power, 5 toughness. Whenever Kefka enters or attacks, each player discards a card. Then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. Additionally, there's an activated ability for 8 mana. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice. Transform Kefka, activate only as a sorcery. He transforms into his final form, Kefka, Ruler of Ruin, a legendary creature, avatar wizard, 5/7 with flying, and whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards.
So you can think about the logical sequence of events when you're playing checks notes. 20 Chandras.
I am playing literally 20 Chandras. Yeah, that's right, gamers. Every fucking one of the planeswalkers. And look in the creatures section. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, it's just real fucked.
We got that. We have all 21 Chandras in this deck. And that's every one of the tutor cards that finds one of the planeswalker deck Chandras. Like, we've got them all. I'm really fully on my Chandra bullshit. Which is why, I don't know if you've read all of the Chandra's gamers, but some of them are not as impactful as others. And
some are the most bonkers iterations of her to date.
Yes. Shout out to Chandra Awakened Inferno, Chandra Flames Catalyst, and the most recent, I think, 7-mana Foundations Chandra. She is really Chandra in her prime on that one. That's some good shit.
Yeah, Chandra Flame Shaper. Yeah, that's...
Yes.
We could be here for hours just talking about Chandra all alone, but, like, yeah, the fact that now, compared to just having Crosis as, like, your just typical flying 6-mana 6/6, this is the way that you combine the colors together for Chandra, is the fact that the backside, like... Card disadvantage to people, transforming, generating red mana using Chandras to then flip Kefka to the backside and then just start unloading on people. Like, sheesh, that's scary.
It synergizes so well with doing burn damage that I was just like, wow, that is fucking perfect. I can remove people's options to interact with my board state and then flip that over and kind of seal the deal with card advantage and burn. So that felt like the obvious choice. So we've been playing that. And I'm always saying this, gamers, if you're having a problem with the deck, apply more card draw. The consistency added by having that card draw in the command zone, as well as the hand disruption, just like we were talking about, it is proactive removal. All of that is making the deck work more smoothly. There's some additional support from Final Fantasy, the main set and the commander set that I'm looking at. There's the 7-mana commander deck Kefka, who's Kefka Dancing Mad. For 5, a black and a red for a legendary creature, human wizard 6/6. During your turn, Kefka has Indestructible, and at the beginning of your end step, exile a card at random from each opponent's graveyard. You may cast any number of spells from among cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Then each player who owns a spell you cast this way loses life equal to its mana value.
What's his fucking name? That's the same cost, same color combination that whenever someone casts a spell, he deals damage to any target.
Oh, Karavak.
Yeah, sorry. Get the fuck out of the way. The new, really expensive Rakdos Legend is here to take your spot. Because...
I think that this guy synergizes very well with the person that I've put in the command zone. I do all of the shredding of your hand, put all of your nice targets in the graveyard, and then steal them with Kefka Dancing Mad to sort of close the game out, in addition to the Chandra burn. I'm thinking about cutting Niv Mizzet Visionary for that, because the couple of times that I've had that in hand and also on field, it's felt like this is really good, but I don't know if it is as good as other cards could be in that slot. Like, he's very good in the, like, Dragon's Approach deck, or a deck that's got more, like, small non-creature spells.
And not to mention that, like, in terms of, like, if you're looking at your 6 mana slots, like, it's not, it's pretty tight in terms of, like, your competition. It's Chandra, another Chandra, Chandra's Incinerator, and then, like, another 3 copies of Chandra.
Yeah, exactly. I have so many fucking 6-mana Chandras in that same slot. I just don't know if Niv Mizzet is what I want to be doing there. So I'm thinking about cutting him and playing Kefka Dancing Mad.
Okay.
The other consideration that I wanted to make was Kuja Genome Sorcerer.
Oh, hold on a second. So we got a 2 black and a red for a 3/4 human mutant wizard. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you control 4 or more wizards, transform Kuja to Trans-Kuja Fate Defied, which is a 4/6. If a wizard you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. Which, yeah, that's pretty good. Gets you some extra bodies for later blocks, but not the current when they get made. But
exactly, yeah, we get those bodies that can block for Chandra. On cast of Chandras, we can do a little bit of burn damage, and we've got the damage modifiers in the deck that'll turn that 1 damage into Lightning Bolt, which starts to really stack up, and people feel that. And then if we can get to Trans-Kuja, then we're looking at closing the game out better. And Kefka's a wizard, so that works with that.
Yeah. So I feel like there's still a lot of modularity in the deck that you could really tap into, but when it comes to like dedicated planeswalker lists like this, like you're already going to be doing stuff if you're left the fuck alone. That's going to be like really powerful. But also when you put out like a bunch of Chandras in a row, people are like, well, I can't attack all of them at the same time, right? And the answer is you probably should, because it's Quinn and it's Chandra.
True. I did have one other like thing that it's in the considering section. The Emperor of Palamecia. This guy's a legendary creature, human noble wizard for a red and a blue. He's a 2/2, and you can tap him to add blue or red, but spend it only to cast a non-creature spell.
Fantastic.
And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, like, I don't know, all of my Chandras, put a +1/+1 counter on the Emperor. Then if it has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, transform it. And he becomes the Lord Master of Hell, legendary creature, demon noble wizard, 3/3. He keeps all of those +1/+1 counters because this is just a transform.
Yeah, it's flip and not exile, yeah.
And then whenever he attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of non-creature, non-land cards in my graveyard. Because I have Kefka forcing the discard every turn, I think we can set that up to do a lot of damage. Additionally, there's Chandras that do wheels. So I'm going to have cards in my graveyard. We've also got the Speed Demon, and him putting a bunch of cards into my hand can fuel the discard there. So I really think that this can be a strong card in there. And in the front side, he fuels casting Chandras.
Damn. Unrelated to the build, but I am happy to see as many uncommon, I mean, of course there was going to be, but I've seen as many uncommon legendary creatures in this set.
Yeah, uncommon commanders eating, dude.
I know Laura was pretty excited to see some, there was like, so the guest sheet, unrelated, I know I'm taking over here.
Yeah, no worries.
The guest sheet for just slapping artwork on a card and then releasing it being like, hey, check out Ristic Studies, except it's Tidus and Yuna in water. And I'm like,
yeah,
I fucking hate this. But anyway, for example, like Strixhaven Stadium is getting downshift in rarity to uncommon. So if you're an artisan player, you can have potentially an alternative win con via Luca Stadium for your Blitzball. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's nice to see some changes, and like a lot of the designs that they have for these creatures that are coming out in this set, including the uncommon ones. We're having like really aggressive, non-green, non-red, like spell slingery kind of tie-in cards that like synergizes really well, and like I'm fucking down for it. I love that.
So here's the thing. Now that we're seeing more and more of these wizard typal cards, the absolute fucking radical option, what if we just fucking nuke the entire thing and start over with a Grixis Discards Wizards rebuild theme in mind?
You need to fucking relax. Why are you going the nuclear option? Like,
this is just a consideration. Hang on, stay with me.
Okay, what I'm saying is, if you empty my hand before you win the game, you better be fucking winning that game the next turn. That's what I'm saying.
We already can and have emptied people's hands, which is why, if you'll see in the creature section, I have Tiny Bones, the first one, who has the 6 mana button that you can push to have every Hellbent player lose 10 life. That just fucking kills people.
Damn, alright, I see you.
You thought I wasn't serious about this shit? Hey, remember that resolution from the beginning of the year to make a more serious commitment to a discard deck?
Yeah, I guess this is it, isn't it?
Yeah, we've already put the discard in the command zone. There's a waste not in here because I'm trying to get the value off of that. I think we gotta
Croxa. You got fucking
yeah,
Croxa.
I'm on fucking Croxa, dude. Like, I think I need to just like melt it down and print out some more Final Fantasy cards and put those all in the deck. And the wizard tokens, like we were talking about, if I just have more and more of those, they can block for Chandras better. I think there's something here.
I am terrified. Hashtag Grixis Mean Girls.
Yeah. Hashtag Grixis Mean Girls.
Jesus.
All right, you got one for me?
All right. It is like because of the very long soapbox here. I got two, but it's mostly really just the one. It's hashtag Bludgeon posting time. Status report. The deck is still sick.
Of course.
I got to add Sage of the Skies and Shocking Sharpshooter from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Those have been really good additions. Didn't get to see the Shocking Sharpshooter from one of the last few times that I played. I did get to cast and copy a Sage of the Skies. And as it turns out, having an extra blocker when needed with lifelink attached to it can really make or break the game for you. Now, of course, I still lost the last couple games that I got to play, but the play patterns overall have been pretty great. Monument to Endurance also just continues to do the fucking work. I didn't write that down on the doc here.
Yeah, that card
that
fucking rules. Every time it shows up in Howler, I'm dabbing and pog champing. It shows up in Grixis discard. Love to see it.
I also didn't write down this other scenario, but I get to it in a second here. So we've been playing a lot of games, not so much me, more so you, but with Medusa and Light over from Girl Bite, Gate Crash. Fuck. No. Gate. Fuck. Hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. Nope. I can't remember the full thing off the top of my head. Fuck.
Gaslight, Gate Crash, Scroll Bite.
Thank you. So we got to play a few games with them, and the recent particular games that we got to play was with Medusa was playing Sharoom the Hedgeman, and I was like, okay, we're not in a good position. Medusa could probably combo out of nowhere, but let me see if I can do something here. So she had Magister Sphinxed me earlier, and then I'm like, okay, let's see if I can somehow use this getaway glamour in a way that like helps us out or puts us ahead or whatever. So I use getaway glamour rather than to flicker or exile my own stuff. I use it to exile the Magister Sphinx and then kill whatever her next biggest flying creature was, which was going to be the blocker for my giant fuck off flying creature. Now, it would have been cool overall if I remembered that she also had a bajillion tokens on the ground and that my hasty Jor Kadeen that had Metalcraft wasn't going to be blocked.
No.
But it did force Medusa to have Magister Sphinx come in and put Light's life total to 10. I was out of that game, but I'm kind of seeing more and more justifications why I put some of these cards in. Include like Getaway Glamour is one of those cards that I think is really a really subtle player, like role player in the deck, and it does a really good job. Now let's talk about the other scenario that came up that I was just laughing about, and we were playing against Misha Migo, I think. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her title right.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So she was playing Nekasar the Mind Razor.
Nice.
And I can't remember if I don't think I had a damage doubler out, but I had Monument to Endurance out, and I had Molten Psyche and Wheel of Misfortune in my hand. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm in a bad position and I really need to try to find a way to like get myself out of this situation. But I also am of two minds. On the one hand, if I play Wheel of Misfortune, I know that Light and Medusa are not going to play ball because Nekasar and other variants of that card are out. But if I don't cast it, I don't get to get the triggers off of Monument to Endurance. On the other hand, if I do cast Molten Psyche with enough artifacts out, they're also taking damage equal to the number of cards they're drawing on top of the Nekasar effect. in retrospect, the Molten Psyche should have been the answer, but I really wanted that Wheel of Misfortune trigger to go off with the Monument. So I don't know.
I get it.
The Monument to Endurance sauce is like so fucking good. Like,
Yeah,
the
that card is extremely strong.
The current iteration of the deck that I've been playing with has been so cool. The changes that I've made within like the last couple of months or so have felt very, not necessarily like I would say impactful, but it's helped make the deck feel a touch smoother here and there. Outside of the extended art version of the Broadside Bombardiers that I'm getting very soon, relatively soon in the mail.
Lots emoji.
I put back in Ornithopter Paradise. That's felt pretty good getting able to play that. Aya of Alexandria did so much work in making assassin tokens. I feel like I've kind of got like a good combination of direct damage via like Reckless Fire, Reverse Sunshot Militia, and Shocking Sharpshooter now. And yeah, I don't know, just all of it's really kind of coming together overall. And now I just need to try to find a way to make a cut for Lightning Army of One, because we're reaching like critical mass of like all these cards are like so solid in this list. And I don't know what to cut for her just yet. It might be the recently added Sage of the Skies, but no definitive answer yet until I get like the card in my hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't possibly tell you what to cut at this point. The list is incredibly dialed in. I'm sure finding that particular slop is going to be agonizing.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
I'm saluting. I wish you luck with that.
But that is the hashtag Electric Posting report. We'll come back in a few weeks and see if anything really major has changed, or if I've broken down from the Final Fantasy hype and make a Final Fantasy deck.
Mm-hmm. I think you will.
Speaking of Final Fantasy decks.
Yeah. Let's talk about Clive Rossfield, main character of Final Fantasy 16.
Mm-hmm.
I played the demo for that. A pretty exciting game. Clive is a pretty cool dude. I think he's at least seems like a stand-up guy so far. I don't know how he ends up as Ifrit's dominant, given the beginning of the game is him very much not being that. I think Ifrit actually like kills his brother when he's in his Phoenix mode or whatever. So
geez, that's Final Fantasy 16 spoilers. You gotta calm down there.
It's in the first like 15 minutes of the game, babes.
Listen, it's still spoilers for a lot of people that don't know about Final Fantasy 16, all right?
I feel like if you don't know about it by now, are you going to find out? How old is that game?
It's over a couple years old now, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Bro, what? Oh, ancient spoilers. Gotcha. Okay, no, I see the connecting thread. All right, anyway, let's talk about Magic the Gathering again. So Dragonhawk is a big red deck, basically, and Clive looks like the perfect big red commander. Let's actually read Clive, Ifrit's Dominant, and Ifrit, Warden of Inferno for the gamers at home.
First of all, Saga creature technology is so fucking cool.
It really is. They fucking nailed it. It feels exactly like casting a summon in Final Fantasy. So anyway, Clive, legendary creature, human noble warrior, 4 red, 5/5. And when Clive enters, you may discard your hand, then draw cards equal to your devotion to red. And for 4 red, and tap, you can exile Clive, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Activate only as a sorcery. The backside is Ifrit, Warden of Inferno, a legendary enchantment creature, saga demon, a 9/9, and Chapter 1, Lunge, Ifrit fights up to one other target creature, and Chapters 2 and 3, Brimstone, add red, 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 red. If Ifrit has 3 or more lore counters on it, exile it, then return it to the battlefield front face up.
Very fucking cool. I think it'll be interesting to not only have a legendary creature that can transform into one of the saga creatures that's coming in the set, but trying to find that balancing act of trying to leverage that 9/9 body on top. Like, every front and back side, it's just gas. Everything about it is so good.
So we swapped Dragonhawk for Clive and took it for a spin because they're the same sort of big red deck. Clive's front half proved to be an extremely powerful source of card advantage. He's basically Wheel of fucking Fortune levels of power. And you get a 6/6. And nobody else is wheeling, which is good.
Yeah, that
and
is
bad,
that is the upside. You're not forcing everyone to do it. You're really benefiting from it the most.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Fuck, dude, it's never been the right choice to activate the ability to flip Clive, which feels bad. I'm pretty frustrated about that. This might be I just need to commit and just push the button the turn after he comes down. But the thing is, you just filled your hand after you cast him, so
yeah, you want
surely
to
you have a
unload,
better
right?
thing to do than
okay,
activate
so
Clive.
here is Quinn. Here's the thing, right? Dragonhawk. This is the Dragonhawk deck. This is not the Clive Ifrit's dominant deck. That's
True.
the thing, right? A lot of the fundamentals that you put in the deck could probably work if you had taken that into consideration. But let's be real. You run a bunch of red ritual effects to throw a Clive and have a low hand total, and then you refill Clive. But you don't have the devotion. Then pretty rough balancing act. Really,
I think the devotion is so crucial, and it's why you have to just play it like a big red deck, and then on curve cast Clive and refill.
Good thing we have a couple more mono red dorks that can also contribute to casting Clive and also contributing to the devotion count. It's
yeah, I think that's pretty good. The End Rider Catalyzer and the I think new red one from Tarkir.
Sunstrike. I put it in a deck recently. That thing is a 2-mana 3/1. That beats people in the face if you're not using it for mana.
Yeah, that seems fine. We'll take that. I want to try both of those out. So yeah, maybe we put together a Moxfield brew that's specifically focused on mana dorks and red mana ways on board to generate mana, get Clive out, and just take advantage of the graveyard stuff that he's doing as well. We probably still want to keep the same top end, except focus on red robots maybe, so that we can, if we find Felden or Dollhouse along the way, do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's tricky because, again, Clive reads really well, but you have to fight with the fact that he's a 6-mana commander in the command zone if you're doing this. It's a 6-mana activation that you have to be able to tap him for. And then the first thing that he does when he flips over is fight up to one other creature as a 9/9, which is fine.
It's just it feels like spending 6 mana on a removal spell, and I need to think past that because it's not just that, and that's all I've been thinking about it right now. It's been is 6 mana on a 9/9 punching something better than the cards that I just drew off of this Clive ETB? And in most cases, it hasn't been, but there is stuff past that, and I need to just be of single-minded focus on seeing the other modes of Clive to just see what the fuck they even do, because I haven't gotten there on anything yet. I don't think I've flipped any of the flippable commanders that I've tried so far.
Yeah. And if we're looking at it from a slightly different angle, sagas do get counters on them, so you'd almost think that maybe having incremental proliferate for that flip might be worth it. You don't put every single proliferate card in the deck, but you have the Karn's Bastion maybe on the back end to be get him from level 1 to level 2 to get that mana, and that fight off and then flip them back, but it's a balancing act. At least the second half does allow you to generate mana for getting to that second and third chapter so you can activate that other stuff. Like you can cast the cards you put in your hand off of Clive's front side. Or you go to Brimstone Chapter 3, exile it, return him to the front side, have a haste source, pay 2 mana, flip him back, and just fight something else again. Like it would be interesting to see how a deck with heavy consideration of all of Clive's abilities.
I think Clive can be really cool in the 99 of the like Rakdos Reanimator deck, maybe, if you've got sufficient devotion to red, and you can sacrifice Clive to like a burnt offering or sacrifice to make 6 black or red mana. That can be pretty impactful, I think, because he like ETBs, you sacrifice him, discard your hand, and draw cards. The potential's there.
Speaking of another Final Fantasy game I need to get on like my wish list. Let's take a look here. I got Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, and I got Final Fantasy. I do have Final Fantasy 16, and I got Final Fantasy 13 on there. So we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. I hear 14 has a free trial. The critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy 14.
What's the expansion that you can play up to now? Heavensward, I think?
Up to Heavensward, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I still haven't played it. I can't get into MMOs for the life of me.
From what I'm hearing from people, they have made it so that you don't have to treat it like an MMO if you don't want to, and that is appealing.
I do just want to play the game, but at the same time, I don't know. It's why Final Fantasy 16 was so appealing to me, despite the fact that some people are like, the MMO design philosophy of Yoshi P is like so heavy in that game, where they're like, damn, collect 20 bear asses is like everywhere all over the side quests, but the main story is actually like, I'm not gonna say Shakespearean, but like pretty compelling. But it's also like super character action game shit. Like I'm like, damn, Devil May Cry devs were fucking involved on this shit. I want in on that. That looks awesome.
Hang on, I love Devil May Cry. What?
Yeah. Did you not know?
I did not know.
Oh damn, Quinn, you're
That's not even fully accurate, because it's not Devil May Cry that I love. I love Bayonetta, but they're the same game.
It's the same genre, different shit. Who cares? You're not gonna be going spinning around doing hip-hop kicks while Bayonetta's fucking firing her gun 360 degrees before striking a Vogue pose. Like, come on. But it's still
Bayonetta
very
rules.
cool. Like, it's someone was like, that when they started doing it, they were like, damn, Game of Thrones is really cool, so let's set that tone. But then also your main character has a giant fuck off sword, and he shoots fireballs and like transforms and all this other stuff while comboing on people, just style on them. So yeah. Anyway, reasons to play Final Fantasy number 16. Ifrit and Clive are cool, so maybe that's why we should play Final Fantasy 16.
I'm so fucking serious. The Magic the Gathering card was extremely compelling, and then I was like, all right, well, I will find out what the fuck is up with this Clive character.
I need to go watch the preview panel with Ben Starr, who's his actor. And that guy is, I have never seen a dude throw himself into not only like a role, obviously, but being a spokesperson and just a pure enthusiastic fan, and just go up on stage and be an absolute goofball. He was in a Balatro trailer or advertisement, and he's also in Expedition 33. So like, this dude's like on a roll, and I want to see what his attitude was like when he was, or what he was doing when they were previewing Clive, because he was super fucking hyped for it. But yeah, anything else to note about Clive?
Um, I think that's it for now. We're just gonna get back to the lab. We're gonna try and activate that ability. We're gonna get that data, and we'll report back. I do really think that this is a cool card, and I will see this in the 99 of decks for sure.
Oh yeah, no. Not factoring in the current pre-sale prices, and also I'm a poor Canadian boy, tariffs, please. But I do plan, like, if there were things I was going to grab off the top of my head, it's Heroes Blade Final Fantasy version, Clive and Lightning, and probably the mono white version of Cloud that doubles equipment triggers and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think that guy's really cool. He's going to be extremely cool in 60 card too. People,
oh yeah,
we're fucking hammer time in standard. I'm thinking about it.
It's gonna be fucking insane.
Listen, if I can put a Corey Steel Cutter on Cloud,
Are we
interested.
sure that card is not gonna be banned at some point? Like, I don't know.
Maybe, but wait until after I can get a double trigger on Cloud off and then ban it.
I am so glad I opened that card in the pre-release and then traded it in for like $15. I was like, yeah, I am not.
Hell
if
yeah,
they
dude,
ban that,
coins.
if they ban that tomorrow, I'm just like not taking any chances with it. Like,
understandable.
Get it away from me. Okay, let's talk about my Amarith artifacts list.
Yeah, I got to play against this, and it was very much a board state deck.
Yeah. So Amarith is 3 green, white, blue for a 6/6 dragon. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it shares a card type, you may reveal the card and put it into your hand. I do not have all the top deck manipulation pieces, or maybe not enough of a saturation of it. So there are a few whiffs. I do kind of just like the ensemble of cards that I have here. Outside of your favorite card, Cataclysmic Gearhulk.
I hate that bitch.
There are just a bunch of cards that, after I'd taken a bunch of stuff apart, that kind of re-entered circulation, and I really wanted a way to justify putting a bunch of new and old cards together, and it kind of feels like an old EDH deck to me from like a decade ago.
Well, you got fucking Ugin the Spirit Dragon, so we know that you are on the old school board wipes.
Yeah, we're all that old school. Hold on, Fate Reforged. Yeah, obviously. But it was just a way for me to like, hey, let's put Angel of the Ruins, which is a newer card, in like Aethersworn Sphinx, which barely I don't really get to play that in a deck, but I also get to put in like Spine of Ishsa, obviously. Filigree Angel. Does anyone ever remember this card?
Medusa remembers it.
well, we know Medusa remembers it. That statistical outlier. 5 double white in a blue for an artifact creature angel that's a 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life for each artifact you control, which is a non-zero amount. Someone was asking me, I can't remember who, was like, why don't you have more artifact lands? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just stuffed to the brim with them. I have all of them available, like, let me go get on that. But yeah, it's just like, hey, this looks cool. Let me put it in a deck. Hey, this looks also cool. Let me put it in a deck. And honestly, what more justification do you need? It's kind of a control deck with a Voltron maybe finisher, while I'm using like Amarith as simultaneous beater, blocker, and card advantage thing.
Classic Cole. Control deck with a Voltron finisher.
I'm just being a little bit more honest about it, I guess. But yeah, pretty tricky to know exactly what's going to happen, because the first showing was not terribly stellar. But I'm hoping to see what I can come up with in the near future, and it kind of gives me an idea if I want to continue with it or just dismantle it again. But I haven't really just gotten the reps in. So, yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of what I see in the deck, which is fine. I just need to do something with it.
I think Amaranth is pretty cool. I have her as well in the Clues deck and the Unholy Fusion of Card Types deck. It's cool to see the like dedication to artifacts version. And I've also seen the dedication to enchantments version from Missy. The duality of gamer. It's very neat.
And like I really do got to thank the folks in the Legendary Creature podcast Discord, because they planted the idea. Someone in there started the idea, and I was like, I don't know, what can I do? Like, what can I take to like the logical conclusion of that? I'm like, cool, I guess I could play Panharmonicon and Vidalcan Orrery in the same deck. Why not? And
sure.
And Dragon Throne of Tarkir, because what more reason do I want to have an artifact equipment that can do overrun stuff, you know?
Also, the logical conclusion that you were speaking of is either Cyberdrive Awakener or all the glitters.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah, we did talk about it, so I'll need to get one or both of those in here at some point. But Cyberdrive, the problem is that when you do have several...
has not been printed enough.
When you have several different decks of different color combinations that happen to have an artifact overlap, that all of your Cyberdrive Awakeners and your Kappa Cannoneers are currently occupied in those decks.
$14.97 per Scryfall here, so rest in fucking pieces your wallet if you want to pick up another Cyberdrive Awakener. I don't think so on that one, fam.
No. I think I maybe I have two of them, but I'm very certain I have one. So yeah,
that's fine. There's still the budget version.
Rise and Shine. I'll just get Rise and Shine or something.
Yeah, that works too. I'm sure that has more copies out there in circulation because draft set.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I do need to get my reps in. I like the idea. I just also think that having a non-busted commander in the command zone is great. It's fine. It's fun. You do not immediately have everyone pointing their guns at you and at each other like it's a freaking giant Mexican standoff.
Isn't it nice to smoke mids?
I think so. Take it from me. Anyway, all right. Last deck you got here, the one that I knew that was tickling your brain for the longest time, and I think you reached a form of nirvana with Cecil Dark Knight.
Yeah, so this fucking guy is extremely cool. And I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with him for the longest time. And then I just sat down and was like, all right, well, we're just going to put some cards together and find out what the fuck this card does. And then we'll let that guide our deck building from there. Cecil's just like a character that's extremely cool to me. We watched him become turn from a Dark Knight into a Paladin on the Nintendo DS eons ago, and that like redemption arc and transformation sequence, and then the rest of the story in that game was like, wow, stories can be really cool in video games. So yeah, just like we really like that guy Cecil. So this deck was kind of always going to happen. So yeah, let's get into it. The things that we took into consideration was how the fuck are we going to get our life total low enough fast enough? And we landed on Dark Confidants because of the kind of gamer that I am. So we're on basically all of them. And we have a sizable collection of knives. Packed weapon in particular is going to reduce my life total and make me a lich, so if I fuck up and go too far, it doesn't just fucking kill me.
Which is a very real thing with that front half.
Yeah, I need to actually read the card. So Cecil Dark Knight is a 1 mana 2/3 with Death Touch, a legendary creature human knight, and darkness. Whenever Cecil deals damage, you lose that much life. Then, if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, untap Cecil and transform it. And he transforms into Cecil, Redeemed Paladin, a legendary creature, human knight, a 4/4 with lifelink and protect. Whenever Cecil attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible until end of turn, which is exactly what he fucking does in the game.
As it turns out, paladins are super cool
And yeah, that's our guy. He's a paladin. So yeah, we look at the things that we want to do to get ourselves down to that level, and then how are we rubber banding from that. Like we talked about, dark confidants, and then just the knives. I think Cecil's actually just like, I might not need to focus as much on getting my life total down after having played this one time, because just putting knives on him and making him big enough chunks my life total enough that in addition to the dark confidence is like, okay, I'm in fucking danger and maybe I don't need to do any of that. Maybe I just need equipment support and good knives, and we'll let Cecil do the lowering my life total on his own with his ability. I just need to trust in the darkness, basically.
Let's be real here. You have been looking for this dark confident, dark star augur reasons to, put yourself in mortal danger to reap the rewards. And honestly, I know that I do believe that there's going to be like a really powerful, there's probably going to be like a standard deck with Cecil as like the front line for copies of. I
hope so. Just like Cecil, The Last Ride, the other card, Shadow of Mortality, if that's still around.
Wasn't that New Capenna, or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, that might be too far back.
We're still living in like 2020, like 2021 magic of like, wow, New Capenna, what a cool set. Wow, I'm still finding cards from this. Wow, that's so cool.
Constantly.
Oh, it never stops. It still doesn't. I didn't Light recently. Was it Light or Medusa? Was like, wait a fucking second. What is this card doing here? And it's
yes,
New Capenna.
I forget what exactly the card was, but Light did just recently discover something from New Capenna Commander the other day, and it's just like, well, that's New Capenna Commander for you.
Yeah, that's hello, we've been here, we've known for a while now. Yeah, no. Oh no, or was it no. Like was talking about Tangle Trove Kelp for clues. I think.
Right, that was MKM. Goodness.
Yeah. So again, the vindication of feeling like Mirza Karlov Manor is gonna be the New Capenna of Commander sets in terms of what the fuck is in this set and why is it full of bangers for Commander. And
interesting designs that people just completely fucking slept on because of the hats.
Yeah, but so yeah, going back to Cecil in the deck here, you have a lot of cards in here that fully fit the theme of getting your life total, power at any cost theme. And they're all cards that I think like Darkstar Augur is the new version of it, but what more reason could you put a copy of Dark Confidant in your deck, and this is the best way to go about it.
I fucking love every time that I get to play Dark Confidant, and I'm on every copy of it that I have, I think. So yeah, we're doing all of that. I've got Necrologia, which is a 5-mana instant that I've been wanting to play forever. You can only cast it during your end step, and you pay X life and draw X cards. It's basically Necropotence activation that just like you get one shot of it, one opportunity, it sees everything anyway. So yeah, we want to just put a bunch of cards into our hand with that, get our life total real low if we haven't already taken care of that with the combat damage from Cecil. And once we've gotten to that point, what are we doing? Because we've got a bunch of card advantage, basically, all of our Dark Confidants and the Necrologia, all of the like life for cards paying that we're doing. We're going to turn that into damage and ways to save our life. For starters, we've got the Imperial Plate, a 2-mana equipment with the equip 2, and equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. We've also got Hand of Vecna, basically the same thing. Except it's a +1/+1 at the beginning of combat, +X/+X at the beginning of combat, where X is the number of cards in your hand. And the equip ability can be paid with life for each card in your hand, or you can just pay 2. We also have Sword of War and Peace, which does burn damage for the number of cards in the opponent's hand to that player, and gains you life for the number of cards in your hand.
I I just recently found my copy that I knew that I had around somewhere, and now I'm like, I gotta put this somewhere, but where do I put it? In
Somewhere that draws a lot of cards, probably. I think Sword of War and Peace is getting slept on, but it is truly one of the best swords IMO. I think it's my favorite.
Oh, for Commander, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, for EDH. We also have Lich's Mastery as sort of a, if my life total is real low and my card advantage is very quality, then we can offset being dead from the life loss with the card advantage and life gain that we get from Cecil. And just like ride that line very delicately. And maybe not die when we should.
Yeah.
Lich's Mastery is always a interesting one to try and play.
Excuse me. What I love about looking at this list, and I do encourage everyone to go take a look over at the visual grid view of this, but like outside of some of the very obviously like let's take a look at Copy of Sheoldred and Elish Norn as like the worst examples of evil villains that you could have in a deck. But you take a look.
They're not even their worst forms either. Actually,
No,
it's the
they're not.
Saga versions
They're not.
of both.
But what I'm saying is it's very cool to see the visual dichotomy of Cecil represented by the cards in the deck. And this also feels like a very sick Baldur's Gate 3 multi-class between like a warlock and a paladin.
Yeah.
And which is what I'm currently doing with Will. So you get to smite people for your warlock spell slot 4 slot, which is a short rest thing. But then you just...
I did actually have... I have Paladin class in the deck. And
yes,
I
did see. Yeah, I was going to get there.
Class because the last mode of that is a wound reflection, which would be extremely strong with my combat damage game plan to just double that.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Warlock class is a very long-term investment game plan, but that last mode is just really so strong.
I think that we can probably pay it because we're not spending mana on Cecil, basically. Cast that guy early game, and then late game, what are we doing? We're casting equipment, maybe, or set up pieces. We have the world is our oyster, basically. We don't need to worry about resolving Cecil. So what do we do with the rest of that? Whatever we want. Some of that can be cast in that spell.
Yeah. Really cool deck. Really cool. It is also just really cool to see something like Greatsword of Tyr on this list here for the simple reason that it's low to the ground, boosts him, and also taps something down to clear up blocks.
I've been extremely pleased with the performance of Greatsword of Tyr. Even just being able to tap one creature out of the way makes a huge difference. Often people will leave up one big guy as their champion to block with. And if you can just tap that guy down, like, you're not so big now, are you, buddy? I'm getting in there. I'm crunching in. And that feels really satisfying.
Welcome to the Greatsword of Tyr podcast. Because actually this shit is really my fucking jam. I now have to go ask a bunch of people if they got copies of this.
Yeah, I play this in a couple places, actually. Arna Kennerud also has one because we're tapping blockers and we're getting in there.
Oh, you know what? This is another +1 addition to Radun Hagadoon because I do love just bringing something like that back and growing my board state and clearing the way for combat. Much to think about.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be pretty good in there.
Mm-hmm. Cool deck. Cool deck is cool.
Thank you.
More reasons to play Final Fantasy IV.
Yes, actually, I genuinely think that this guy's so cool, and Final Fantasy IV is so cool, and you would have a good time with that story.
All right, time to go legally get Final Fantasy IV somehow.
Yeah, if you have a Super Nintendo Mini, it's probably on there. Otherwise, you've got your Game Boy Advance collection on your computer. You know what to do.
Yeah, easy to figure out.
Shit, dude, is that elevator music?
Well, it's freshly Quinn certified remix elevator music.
Yeah. All right, bring that in.
This one's a little different. It's been a thought in my head for a long time, and I might be kind of veering slightly off topic, so I'm going to try to just do a TLDR of what this is, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it. I think...
My dude, how you gonna have an outline and then veer off topic?
Because, okay, here's the thought process, right? So, soapboxes are our way of either complaining at worst or attempting to constructively discuss topics about Magic, whether that's the playing the game, deck construction, bitching people out about playing Ristic Studies. Sorry, Fitz. I'll never stop talking about that man and his obsession. And then, of course, talking with certain people and engaging with certain people on their stances of how they put themselves out there in the quote-unquote community. Now, the general overview idea that I had about this soapbox was, how do you put yourself in situations that allows you to socialize with people via Magic to get yourself in the game, get yourself in the play group, whatever that is too. But there's also a other thought in the back of my head here about what being part of a community demands of you and from you, and how you choose to engage with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll go over some people and some topics about this. And the main goal is, this is about how you can get yourself in, and not about the sort of like, what's the community part of it, but it all kind of comes together. And let me see if I can bring us to it, right? So,
all right, what you got for me?
So, let's start off with this. I've always been someone who feels like I should or could be able to get people together and see them get along well. Because I think that I've surrounded myself with good people with like mostly similar senses of humor and similar interests. And these people I trust, they know how to hang out and socialize with other people, you know, and you know, I know a lot of socially awkward or socially reclusive people, they can still do the work, you know. But at the same time, there's got to be a reason why all these people can get together. And if I don't read the room right, there's going to be a dissonant feeling when people don't match well, whether it's because of like the environment or whatever, right? So to kind of work this together, my usual default recently is seeing if I can get different friends from different play groups together to play Magic as the icebreaker. Mm-hmm. This is also where I also want to try to pitch a nighttime webcam games for parents who can't normally play during the day since their kids were born, like group, but that's a whole different entirely. I won't be getting into that, but I had to mention it. I had to get that out there because that's something I've had in the back of my brain forever. So the soapbox is going to be a bit of a doozy because it's all encompassing. It's about how you can and should use Magic as a way to get yourself out there into the world, to stretch your legs, spread your wings, and allow yourself the chance to find cool people, whether it's at your LGS and, God forbid, online spaces via social media, Discord, and so on. I've been thinking about this one for a long time because this entire soapbox is about my stance and opinion on what Magic means to me as someone who's been involved in some small groups of friends and on odd occasions a community. But from the standpoint of someone who is in the community somewhat, but I'm not 100% deep in the trenches, you know? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of reasons for like my stance of not being really deep in it. And I'll get to it maybe eventually if I don't ramble off script too much. But you can't mention how to put yourself out there and begin making friends and begin having a play group without understanding what could come with that. So Magic's been my biggest hobby ever. And I don't know about you, Quinn, but like more than video games or any other commitment that I've ever put myself in terms of a hobby.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Like, I think like Kyle and Andy say on the Legendary Creature podcast, like, it is our church. Like, if I am not a religious person, but there was something that I could fundamentally believe in, it is Magic the Gathering, the game, as like a hobby. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, it spends enough time in my brain and is enough of my focus and holds enough importance in my life that, yeah, I would put it at that.
Yeah. It's been a huge investment of my time, my mental and physical energy, my money, and my social bandwidth. I've been playing it pretty much full time since 2011 onward, and it's opened my eyes and heart to what people can be passionate about when it comes to a hobby. But I think it continues to go without saying that I wouldn't be playing this game, couldn't be playing this game without the gathering. In all of its forms, in all the ways that we like reach and communicate out to people physically and online. And while I'm personally blessed to be able to play both online and in person with a lot of different people, I know that not everyone else has that same luxury. And I hope that what I'm trying to say today helps you get started, even if something as simple as having a webcam, shitty microphone, and a corner in your office is a way to like start playing games of Commander with people.
Mm-hmm.
So, to the socially awkward listeners, this soapbox is for you. And to my friends and acquaintances who know me and who listen to this soapbox is a representation of my time spent with y'all. Let me talk about my social experiences with and without Magic since my childhood to now, which I will do a very kind of TLDR on this. This is very deep coal lore here. I'm gonna try to break this down, and I'm gonna use school as one of these group things. The other parts of my history involve being active on DeviantArt and within Mega Man Battle Network 6 modding on YouTube.
Nice.
There was the period of time that I was playing Magic during high school, which it's weird to kind of separate, but I'm talking about like different sections of like my years and where I've been. The group that I affectionately call the Tropiuses. So if anyone knows the Pokemon Tropius, it's a Generation 3 Pokemon from Hoenn. It's a grass flying type. It's a dinosaur with giant leaf wings, and it grows bananas from its neck.
Yeah, explain that.
We're going to get into that in a second, but let me go through the other sections here. So then we go into Magic as an adult in my early 20s. Then there is another Tumblr group, which I don't have a name for, but my God, it's something else. Going to Magic as an adult, but online during my mid-20s, which involves Webcam Magic, MTG Lexicon, the Die by VDH, the group called the Cheese Curs, which comprises of me, Joel, Fitz, Gabe, aka Ice Tep, and Prophet of Aries. And then, of course, the Legendary Creature podcast. And then finally, Magic as an adult, part 3, my late 20s / early 30s, aka Mick EDH. So that's kind of like the chapters of this whole thing. So, be me in school, elementary school, move to a new town, don't know anyone. And then also like my early high school years. I was an awkward child. It didn't really change things that I was shy with people. And so people were like, hey, new kid, come be friends with me, right? People allowed me into their space. And that included some friends that I have that are like lifelong, some people that I play Magic with, and a whole lot of people I don't really see anymore, because that's just life. But socializing with these people in school was the foundation of everything I'm capable of doing now. But the long and short of it is a lot of the people that I'm friends with gave me a chance, and because I also took a chance to reach out, shake their hand, and become a friend of theirs, right? So that's just the background stuff. That also involved doing high school theater, which was a big way for me to get out of my shell and socialize and also gain more confidence. And geez, doesn't that explain a lot about me? God
Way to
damn.
get both your ass and mine. 30 kids detected.
Let's go now to my still early teenage years and talk about DeviantArt and Mega Man Battle Network modding. Let's start with the Mega Man Battle Network modding. Around the early 2000s, when we still had a bunch of like modding was relatively new-ish for Game Boy Advance games, because there wasn't a lot of knowledge on what to do or how to do it, right? Like, sure, there was Pokemon hacking. You could do palette swaps or all this other stuff, which involved knowing how the code worked. But the modding scene involved importing transparent sprites into the game's code, as well as like animating them and modding them and like using Microsoft Paint to color them or tweak them however. And you had to make sure that when you exported the sprites in a particular format, like we're talking about like 64 by 64 pixels, and you had to make sure that the sprites had 15 colors so that the 16th color white was listed as transparent in the code when you imported it. And I couldn't tell you how it worked because that shit was still beyond me even as a kid, and I still don't get that stuff now. But you talk with these people through YouTube, and you talk to these people through what was the chatting service that just shut down? Skype? Like Skype just shut down. You use Skype, and then you used really weird peer-to-peer link-up stuff like, I think it's called Hamachi or something, to give you your online link-up for your Visual Boy Advance emulator to play against each other, to like simulate the link cable. Like, this was the shit that I was involved in as a kid, and I learned a lot. I did a lot of sprite work, and a lot of that used to be on DeviantArt before I deep sixed that account. But it was like a really cool way for me to engage with people online in a really like unusual way, especially because I was like 12 or 14 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't know who these people were, but it was still a commonality of like, we like playing this particular game. We like trying to see what we can do with it and how we can add our own visual flares to it and everything, right?
Yeah, dude, that was the internet back then. It was just a screen name and a common interest.
And you know, my parents, of course, were like, well, that's really creepy and weird. I will get to that in a second.
Oh, fuck.
Now, throughout this period, obviously, as time is moving forward, I found that the friendships that I had with my friends throughout school, you know, came and went, things changed. I became a snobby, stuck-up prick, and a bunch of other shit happened, right? But at the same time, while I'm maintaining my in-person friendships and doing theater and all this other stuff, DeviantArt was having its own little thing going on where someone by the name of Petty Artist was doing Nuzlocke comic strips. So they were doing a Nuzlocke of Leaf Green, and me and some other people were watching a live stream of them doing the art. And this particular small group of us collaborated kind of together and called ourselves the Tropiuses. And we just love sharing Pokemon. It was initially based out of DeviantArt, but then when everyone started making their Tumblr accounts around this point, because like that's where most people were doing their social media that I was following, we posted at each other and we went in Skype chats and all this other stuff. But you know what happened? That stuff fell apart. And over time, I could only really tell you that I'm in contact with 2 of those people, and I really don't know who the rest were.
Yeah.
But that's not the only group of online people that I was chatting with. I do draw on occasion. And as part of being on DeviantArt, there was a large group of people who were making these blank anime templates where they used Microsoft Paint to make the outline of characters, and then they kind of filled in the blanks and made them all nude. And they're like, use this as a template to make your original character. So I was deep in the trenches of that using Microsoft Paint to like make all these characters, and that was terrible, but it gets you in contact with a few other people who are of a very similar artistic skill level who also happen to be either nearly graduating or 18 years old or whatever. So of course I'm still a young teenager. And you now get in touch with these people who are in the States, like they're deep South. Someone was like from Oklahoma or Texas or whatever. And you get to see both the cool side of people and their artistic endeavors, and you get to see and hear about all like their achievements and stuff of like, hey, we moved out, we're starting a family, this and that. I'm doing voice acting. It's not paid work, but I'm doing it, right? You also get to see the worst of what people have to offer. You get to see them be completely judgmental assholes. I'm like, damn, Naruto's really cool right now. People in the ninja world wear like fishnets and stuff. That's really weird. But hey, let's have a guy character wear fishnets. And some dude's like, bro, that's gay as fuck. I'm like, oh, you're that kind of person. Okay, we're not talking anymore. So you, in my case, especially when I was voice chatting with these people back in the day too, and I've never seen their faces. I don't know who they are. There are some people who are like really cool, were inspiring, and I got to really see them kind of take off as their art improved and everything. And they were doing things with like their digital tablets and using stuff like Krita and Photoshop and all that stuff back then, right? And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And you get to see some people like go off the deep end in a really weird way that you're like, I need to jump ship from this group as soon as I possibly can. So I got to see both the good and bad sides of it that really kind of set the tone for how I want to kind of engage myself with these spaces. And that was still before I even graduated high school. So meanwhile, I get introduced to a group of people in real life to play Magic. These are my friends Tommy and Jacob and Chris, and Dave and a bunch of these other people that I knew through going through the LGS or whatever. And some of the people at the LGS, like I was still a teenager, so I wasn't really going to go out and sometimes meet these people, although sometimes I get invited out, right? But the main core stuff is like me and the boys are going to F&M doing Friend Slayer shit. Then we're going to go back to one of our buddies' houses, whether it was Tommy or Derek or Brian when he was still around. And we'd go into the basement or we'd go into the kitchen and we'd be playing Magic until like 4 fucking a.m. Like
hell yeah.
that was the dream, right? So I'm somehow managing at this point to maintain some form of online relationships with some people to a point while still really enjoying myself with my friends in a high school setting. Starting to earn some money here and there, learning how Magic works, still doing my artwork and chatting with these people online, and still trying to navigate how to deal with faceless people who also have a really strong opinion about things, including sometimes dealing with like mental illness and stuff that you as a 16 or 17-year-old aren't really equipped to deal with, you know? Trust me, this all makes sense. I'm trying to get to a point here. I'm trying to wrap it up as quickly as I can here. We will now fast forward to Magic as an early adult in my early 20s where, okay, now I'm going to school and I'm still going to work and I have to change my work habits of like, how am I going to get to F&M if I don't have the time to physically get to F&M from work, you know? So that meant trying to rub shoulders with new people, going to the local gaming store, and randomly, circumstantially, sitting down with random people that I still get to play Magic with on Sundays and stuff. Get to go to the New Year's parties, the birthdays, go have a bunch of fun, right? And this is a completely different set of people. So again, I took a chance, sat down with people, heard that they were coming over like every week or every weekend or whatever, and said, sure, you know what, I'll come out because that sounds fun. And then meanwhile, I'm still going to hang out with the guys before they moved away for whatever, you know, because life happens. And now speaking of, for that old group of like, you know, Dave, my good buddy of mine that I knew since high school, his son was just born 2 months ago. And Derek, who lives out in England, he came home with his wife. So they had a wedding on Vancouver Island and we had to go to his wedding. And now we're going to go to me and Chris and Tommy are going to go carpool to our other buddy's wedding this summer. You know, like that's kind of what Magic has done for me and been able to do for like after 13-ish years of like playing Magic with these guys, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
It's great. Let's talk about Tumblr group number 2.
Yeah.
Oh boy. You get in touch with a guy in the States who's a Marine, and he's younger than me. He's younger than us. And he seems pretty well-meaning. He likes fighting games, and he wants to he has a bird. He has like a little, I don't know if it was a parakeet or whatever. But he's like, cool, let's get a Discord group together. And this is the first time I've really been involved in Discord in any capacity, but everyone's using it, right? But the problem is with this particular group of people is that I am not the one gathering them together. There was no collective input in, hey, I think we all have a good vibe. Let's make a Discord group together. This was someone else taking the helm and bringing everyone in. But the problem is that our age groups are wildly disproportionate. I was in my early 20s, and one of them was a 17-year-old, and I'm like, I don't think we should be doing this because I've been on the other side of that as a young kid, right? Also, if you're a young kid listening to this, what the fuck are you doing here? Go do something else. So outside of some of the age differences, there was also a very bad stench of mid to right-wing politics, which I know we don't really bring up a whole lot on here, but if you haven't been paying attention, I think you know what side of the fence Quinn and I are on, and also Quinn is trans. Like, I feel like that should indicate something. But
yeah.
You have a small group of people, including some of the younger people who are part of this Discord Tumblr group, that were impressionable, young, and pretty fairly left-wing, and without going into too much detail, had experienced some trauma, which kind of really informs their stance of how they handle things online and in real life, right? But then you have the other side of people that I honestly never liked since I started talking to them, and they were fucking whack jobs. Like right-wing, like, yeah, well, whatever, the government, blah, blah, blah. Like, they had a bunch of opinions that I can't really go over, because honestly, I think I just, like, deep-sixed a bunch of that into the dark depths of my subconscious where I hopefully will never come up again. But
hell yeah.
This experience not only led to me initially joining and hoping that I was going to have a good time, but it eventually reached a point where I not only kind of sort of had a quiet falling out with the guy who put it all together. I don't really talk to him anymore. I bought him a $200 commander deck. That's the shitty part. I bought him an Ur-Dragon. I bought him a 5-color Ur-Dragon deck. And I got the Secret Lair Ur-Dragon for him. So I'm really kicking myself right now.
Damn, dude.
This guy, like, I thought really highly about this guy, but as time went on and everyone's personal lives kind of got involved in some capacity, and kind of just the dysfunction of the entire group kind of made me realize that, like, this is not a good place to be in. And I can't keep devoting my time and mental energy to stick around because it's just not good for me or anyone else, right? So a bunch of people started dipping, and that was the sign for me to start going too. And out of this group of people, I do talk to one of them still, and, you know, she's doing great, but she and I often kind of get together and talk about how, like, damn, that was, like, not a good time, right? And
Damn.
And then you're like, what do I get from this experience, right? Is that, and I'm going to try to integrate it to the rest of this whole soapbox, is that sometimes you are not going to vibe with people, and that's fine. And there's a lot of reasons why you don't vibe with people. It could range from, this is probably the most piece of shit, worst human being I've ever had the experience of, like, conversing with in any capacity. Like, good. 0 out of 10 stars on Yelp. I'm fucking out, right?
Yeah.
But, and on the other hand, you do really kind of get to see the good sides of people, or the sides of people you didn't really expect, because of how does, like, a negative experience really leave an impact on someone. And they're like, y'all a bunch of fucking crazy people, go get help, I'm out of here. Like, why did I stick around, kind of thing. So then we, of course, fast forward to being like, well, I'm not in that group anymore. What else is going on at the same time? Oh, hi, MTG Lexicon, the dive bar of EDH. What's good? I knew that I I was having a good relationship with people in real life, but I also knew that there were going to be times that I was going to be at home and wanted to talk about magic with people that I've never met before. And circumstantially, when I started posting on Twitter, pretty sure it was Matt who reached out and said, hey, here's a link, come on in, kind of thing. And that was the first major step into online magic webcam play and content creation, which was great. It's been super helpful. Here I am now, right? And that was a change because it was not just kids who were adults trying to play adult, you know, like these were some people that had their shit together, or the one thing that was at least the commonality was we're here to play magic. I'll go further into that later, but you know, everyone's here to play magic. That's what we want to do. That's what we're here to do. Webcam magic is great. I was using like a painting easel to boost my camera high enough over a table to play, and I was using like my school tablet that I was using to draw and do projects and stuff. I was using that as like the hub to like play these games, right? That was freaking great. And that was like, again, my mid like 20s. As I was coming out of the space, I was a little bit burned out from interacting with people, and it was so refreshing, right? And that's also where you touch base with like Joel and Thrallman, and then you get introduced to Fitz and all these other people, and then you get the group chat with the boys with the cheese curds, and
Nice.
we, you learn that Fitz, he lives out on his own, and you learn that Joel, he's a dad of 2, and he's an art teacher, and he also geographically lives within like an hour of you. You're just like, damn, small world. And then it extends further. You get to touch base with Lenny because, hey, it turns out the crew of MTG Lexicon knows quite a few people that like to hang out and also happen to be super fucking cool. So it kind of cascades into this opportunity of not only learning about yourself being reflected by these other people, but you also get to learn how cool other people are. And then it also extends to be like, cool, what's the next step? Years later down the line, Quinn and Lenny, I'll Never Forgive You, the Legendary Creature podcast. You're like, damn, these guys are really cool in the community that they fostered on their own. And yes, it's behind a paywall. I'll get to that later. But they cultivated something that was worth keeping around and being involved in. And that's one of the reasons why I like being there now. And then finally, to kind of tie everything together is because of Webcam Magic and MTG Lexicon getting me to get in touch with Joel. Joel's like, hey, I'm trying to get people together to play Magic. These are some friends I've been playing Magic with for a long time, which then eventually evolved into, what if we use mascots from like the 1980s of McDonald's and use them as the poster children of our variant of the format of Gunslinger and make it Mickey DH. And here's where we are today.
Beautiful.
So there is some deep lore in here. Yes, I am kind of an artist. I was doing theater stuff in high school, and I'm a bit of a fucking nerd. So what does this all mean here, right? So let's tie back into it. So, general overview. That was a little weird in some places. A lot of the moments that I had were really great. There are some moments and people that I really miss. There are some that were so unbearably fucking toxic and I hate. And just overall, all those experiences were pretty all over the place. But it's also a mix of online and offline in real life groups of people that, for the time or on and off periodically, it was a place for people to call their own, to lean on one another, to have and share their struggles, to have their arguments and disagreements, for better or worse. And either those groups continued to touch base to this day, or things fell apart. Because that's ultimately life in a nutshell, and various circumstances gets involved that makes these changes happen, right? So, again, I want to go back to the point that, like, despite the fact that me starting all this stuff as a preteen or a young teenager, which, yes, those things can be very dangerous, but look, hey, I lived. And again, if you're a kid listening to this, just don't. We're talking about smoking. We're talking about doing drugs and shit all the time. Like, come on.
Leave.
So the roundabout way that I'm trying to say here is that there's never not a time where you're going to not be able to insert yourself in social situations to attempt to find other people like yourself. And then for all of our differences, except the fucking right-wing nutbags that are in this game, get the hell out of here. I don't want to talk to you. When it comes to Magic, we want to get together and play Magic and talk about Magic. We want to buy the product, or we want to say, boo, don't buy the product, make proxies, printer go burr, whatever, right? That's what we want to do. But to make the first step, you have to ask the questions to get you in the door. And that also means making yourself vulnerable and exposed to potential negativity and potentially also a great friendship. Now, if you're not comfortable doing it yourself, how do you go about doing it? Like you do in Do You Want to Be a Millionaire? Call a friend. Or have them assist you in being introduced somehow. I don't think, again, just to tie back into the online stuff, I wouldn't be where I am right now doing this podcast and all this other stuff if it wasn't for people like Matt and Joel, Bjorn with it, doing their stuff, right? Like, I wouldn't be,
outreach.
You know, it goes a long way. There's a lot of people who are like, you know what? I should be doing more and asking people to come and be involved in these games and stuff, because you know what? Turns out when you get a group of people that know a lot of people, you have a lot of people to play Magic with. So, oh no, I don't have a friend to ask. What's the next step? You do some goddamn research. You look online, you check out the LGS website, or you do whatever. If there's a paid event at a store, go pay money and go do it. Do you know if there's a Discord community of your favorite Magic the Gathering content creator or the podcast that you listen to or whatever? Yeah. Okay. Having to pay for entry or to play does suck. But if we're already spending money and our time on Magic, it's kind of the next logical step.
Absolutely.
In the case of an LGS, that means you get to leave your house for a bit and socialize, stretch your legs, go get some sun for a little bit or whatever. But what about for the people that are too far away from a store or for my trans homies who can't trust those spaces to be safe? Again, it's about the online stuff. How many Twitch streams or maybe gameplay videos or whatever have you seen, and Quinn, that you or I have watched over the last few years that wasn't on Spell Table, and that were people that were getting together and playing from all over the North American continent, or even playing Magic with people that are across the water on both sides? Like,
that's just every one of them. The shit is extremely diverse.
Yeah. We got to play with Kristen, who's out in England, and we got to go play with Charlotte, who gets up for 4 a.m. to come plug in and play over on MTG Lexicon on a Saturday night for us, which is fucking insane. Mm-hmm. I miss Sam out in Australia, past the jam Sam from Commander Crunch.
Yeah, that's the homie.
Miss that guy. He's too busy playing like Elden Ring and shit. Going surfing and living his life. I think outside the support of Spell Table has truly become like the bastion of being a place for people to play Magic who just don't have like the free time or be able to leave their house. Nothing else has solidified this more than the pandemic happening. And It really did help out a lot of people, myself included, as a way to have an outlet of our hobby. So again, as part of the reason for doing this soapbox, Andy, I chatted with Andy a bit about this because he has talked about this on the Legendary Creature podcast, where he's maybe the phrasing is a bit wrong, but he is a bit of a reclusive guy intentionally. Mm-hmm. He and Kyle have their church, their play group of people that they get together in, like he said on the last episode that they did, that they have nowhere else to go. The only reason that they're getting together is to play Magic. And if you have anything else signed up, why do you even show up? Because they're there for that extreme reason, right? And they intentionally choose to only play with like a select number of people in person. And there's a multitude of reasons about that. And they explain that in various episodes of like the crazy people who are like, yo, we gotta ban Elbrus or Erebus. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, you got a life gain deck, and Kyle, shut your ass fucking down. You know, like that's crazy. They don't play with that person anymore. And then if we look at MTG Lexicon as an example, when the guys were playing out at the studio, that was the reason that they were getting together. Like they had a fucking giant kiddie clubhouse to play like Smash Bros in one room and then stream in the other and have a bunch of fun. But when things went remote,
dude, it fucking ruled.
That sounds fucking awesome. But things change, of course, and when your reason of getting together doesn't really matter anymore, and it's like, well, why am I going to play Magic? You know, so it's nice to see JPEG and the guys get together on Wumbo Wednesdays because it gives them a reason to play Magic and still contribute to the stream. But they've also moved on to being like, yeah, we're the D&D crew now, you know. But those guys wouldn't get together and they wouldn't exist if they all didn't enjoy each other as people and play the same game, you know. Like that's the Magic. That's Magic the Gathering in a nutshell. So let's try and wrap this up. So all these examples and reasonings, right, included, everyone ultimately has their limits of what is comfortable for them and how much they can put themselves out there, because there could also be a neurodivergent angle in this as well. How much bandwidth do you have to let other people into your life via your hobby? How open can you be to play with strangers? And what is your tolerance overall for like social engagement? Take it from a guy who can be pretty selective about who he wants to play with. You still have to take your chances because you never know who you'll vibe with super well. And it could lead to opportunities or friendships you never expected. Take that chance. Put yourself out there. If an LGS isn't an option, the next best thing is look online. There's a lot of places to look. Let's look at the Lobby Pristine as a prime example of that, or Tolarian Community College as like ways for you to get on in. Are some of these places, like the Legendary Creature Podcast Discord, a paywall? Well, one, you're paying them for the Discord and you're paying for the podcast, so that's one thing. But like, opportunities exist. I think there's a lot of people who could benefit from putting themselves out there and taking the chances, maybe even if they don't like webcam Magic. If it's the only way you're going to play, guys, pay $50 for a webcam, get a shitty headset, and go fucking nuts.
Man, that was a really cool exploration of the Cole backstory and the different like groups of people that you've linked up with or crossed paths with, and the ways that you've weaved Magic in with that, and the ways that Magic itself can bring people together and forge relationships. Like, it's also a thing that I've experienced in my life. Started playing Magic the Gathering, hanging out on Twitter, hanging out in Twitch streams, meet enough people that you play Magic the Gathering with regularly that eventually were like, hey, we should hang out like IRL. And then you go and link up at cons and go get dinners and things like that, or you set up like events where you and friends that you've met on Twitter go and hang out at someone's house for a few days. And all of that is just some of the coolest shit that I've gotten to do as an adult as a result of playing with these silly little wizard squares. Shout out to that and the way that it can forge relationships that will impact the rest of your life.
Yeah. And obviously, I wish I had more opportunities or a drive to finally get my fucking passport and go traveling, but also it's really scary right now.
Yeah, now is maybe not the best time to come to the US, so yeah. I understand. But if things get better, then absolutely.
No. The one thing that I think is that the more that you put yourself out there or take chances and opportunities, you get to see the result of people getting together by also have taken the same chance, right? Like, if you are on social media and you are on Bluesky, you do get to see a lot of photos of people getting together. There's Joe Johnson's cookout, all the guests that show up on Tolarian Community College or Loading Ready Run, or the fact that I got a photo and like a handshake with Jim LePage was like super cool to me, because I'm like, this was just a random circumstance that happened, and you kind of, on the one hand, it's kind of cool to see your heroes, and the other thing is it makes you realize that like you make the effort, your world, the very big world, can be very small. But at the same time, you know, if you got a webcam...
Dude, it's literally video games. The world ends with you. And if you just, like, you make more connections, you meet more people, you expand your world, and you can make that as wide as possible.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Thanks for coming to my Cole Talk. You can check out the Cole's notes somewhere on the internet. I don't know. Yeah. Something I've had in the back of my head for a very long time. And it's something that involves a lot of my personal experiences, which I could have gone a lot deeper on some of them, but some things are better left unsaid and forgotten, because those
man's gotta have some mystery.
Yeah, you know, I can't have my heart on my sleeve all the time. Gotta have some cards held close to the chest. So yeah, let's wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, this ruled. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Yeah, thanks for indulging me.
You can find us on the internet collectively at HBVC-MTG on Bluesky. The podcast is available wherever podcasts are sold. It's also on YouTube. Check that out. I personally am on the internets at Girldick Energy. Cole is on the internets at the Bloodrick Guy. We got anything else to plug?
Nah. And besides MTG Lexicon, the Daibar VDH.
Home for your filthy, drunken, casual commander content. Beer.
All right, let's end it now.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. Later, gamers. I love that thing. Yeah, I've been in the lab. I've been sharpening my bestie sword, arranging my materia just right. And now, limit break.